Welcome to the YellBro. I'm Jordan, and today we're gonna do part two of the BadEmpanada video. Now we're gonna actually react to Hasan Piker and Matt Duss having a conversation only on certain topics. I'm not trying to do the whole video, just certain topics, and I'm gonna try to see if BadEmpanada's assessment of the interview is whether I agree with it or kind of agree or just completely disagree, whatever it is. Uh, I'm very curious about this. But before we get started, do not forget what?
What?
Before
Go
we get
ahead.
started,
Finish your opening.
before we get started, do not forget to share, support, hopefully donate to all the links you see in the description box. Check them out, read them, share them, then donate. They're all just charities, except for the very last one that is mine. Don't worry about that though. And also, there's a Discord link if you want to join the Discord and have conversations. And no dick pics, none. I better not see one fucking dick pic.
In his general, you can send him to DM.
Propagandists. And obviously no grotesque violence fucking things. Like I've seen in this Discord. So
Only in DMs.
either way, all links in the description box. Please, Dubster, go ahead with whatever the fuck you're gonna say.
What's the things BadEmpanada was asking about or saying was bad about Matt Duss
Oh,
interview?
Well, BadEmpanada. Well, this is probably like my second video of seeing this guy before, and he has a thing against like liberal. He would probably call it liberal Zionism, meaning, you know, the guys that the first sentence they say is, well, October 7th was bad and Israel has the right to defend itself, like, and has the right to exist, right? Like, kind of like you add those kind of predications first, and then you maybe make some tacit critiques of what's happening over there. Meanwhile, it's like, we all have smartphones. We can see there's a blatant crime happening. So so I wouldn't use the same words that BadEmpanada uses, but overall, I think we would agree that Matt Duss is not some guy that's going to move the needle, really. And it actually, like,
and he's a Bernie Sanders former employee.
He was his foreign. When I first heard of Matt Duss, it was during Bernie's second run, right? So, you know, the 2020 time period, right? And I went there. I'm like, okay, because for me, foreign policy is like a blatant type of situation of pointing out, like, here's some corruptible, like very corrupt policies versus maybe not. And I looked to, like, who is Bernie's foreign policy advisor, and it was Matt Duss. And I saw his takes on Syria, on Ukraine, or Ukraine, Russia. Let's add both of them because most of it's saying like how bad Russia is, right? And I also looked over. Then of more recently, it's Israel, Gaza, but he had bad takes back then as well. Even before October 7th, he had bad takes. In my humble opinion, they came off as very like cliche Democratic Party kind of statements. Although they look better than, it looks better than Joe Biden. It looks better than Kamala Harris, right? Or Pete Buttigieg. It looks better than them. But being relative is not a good enough standard for me. I want you to be like, I will stand against fucking killing innocent civilians no matter what. If I don't see that, I'm probably going to question you or shit on you. It is what it is. Right? And right. Matt Duss is one of those guys. Like, oh, the fucking Kurds in Syria and Assad is gassing his own people. Although Assad was killing his own people, but not with gas attacks. Right? That didn't pan out evidence-wise. And then obviously just like funding Ukraine and NATO that are going to push the envelope with Russia is not a good take at all.
Meanwhile, today's news is Trump said, if I was president during the beginning of the Russia-Ukraine things,
wouldn't have happened.
Kyiv would have attacked Russia better.
No, but his overall statement was it wouldn't have happened in the first place. Like, there wouldn't be a war in the first place, right? That's his main talking point.
Because if I was in charge, I would have been better for the U.S.'s position of getting Kyiv militarized.
Yes,
That's
I did see that.
equivocally what he's saying.
His
So
Truth
meanwhile,
Social,
the
right?
other side isn't saying anything fucking better.
Yeah, and that was through Truth Social, right? Where he kind of made that statement essentially.
Right, where he's trying to fucking bring peace to the conflict, he says shit like that. What the fuck?
Right after meeting with Putin and Zelensky. Yeah, and he also set the precedent with sending them fatal weaponry, or what's the word? Not fuck. I'm forgetting the word. Like there's like not non-violent support or whatever.
Non-lethal?
Non-lethal. There we go. And he turned it over to lethal support when he started giving them weapons. Although it was considered as not much, but it's a start. Just like pulling out of the Iran nuclear deal is a start that can lead to bombing actual Iran. Like that's how things work. It doesn't work in like a straight up vacuum all the time. All right. So, but either way, back to Matt Duss here. He has had bad take after bad take, in my humble opinion. I remember him debating on Democracy Now about we should be active in Ukraine or in Ukraine-Russia war. All the blame is the Russians, and on and so forth. Although, like, Russians do have some blame there. It's just to do it so blanket in a direction, it comes off as weird to me. And what BadEmpanada was saying was that that Matt Duss is using Hasan's platform to remarket himself as like, hey guys, I'm against what Israel's doing with Gaza. I'm against it. Meanwhile, like initially, he was not saying things like that, right? He's saying like, oh, Israel has the right to defend itself, and Hamas is so bad, and on and so forth. So you know what? I wanted to see for myself with my own eyes and ears, and I'm ready. Here we go. Here's a spicy back and forth with former Bernie Sanders advisor Matt Duss from Hasan Piker. Here we go.
I agree with you. The reason why I'm
sorry, that volume was not loud enough here. There we go. Here we go.
American policymakers off the hook.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because like what Rashid Tlaib told me was basically that like politicians are still malleable, and it does seem like this unshakable force, like the loyalty and defense of Israel is just like impossible to break through. But it's very clear that at least from her feedback, that they do see people at their town halls and they do get scared. And I think Gallego was a great example of this, like a person who has been pro-Israel in his town hall when faced with that question had to be like, oh, well, maybe I would have voted against weapons. There's also the other side of this where people talk about like the distinction between defensive weapons and offensive weapons. I wanted to hear your perspective on that.
Sure. Well, first, in regard to what Congresswoman Tlaib said, I mean, she's right. It is so important for members to kind of hear from constituents and to get grief and to get complaints. I mean, that's what I was saying earlier, that for the longest time, they've only ever felt like they had to fear pressure from their right. They've only been looking over their right shoulder when this question comes up. And it's because of a lot of work by a lot of people, activists and others who, that they are now, they understand like they need to check their left shoulder as well. And that Politico article that you quoted from, where Pete went to kind of clean up the mess. I mean, it's saying, this is going to be a litmus test going into 2028. And I think we saw from Mamdani's campaign something really important. There's a good reason why it's a litmus test, because it signals to people that you're not full of crap on a whole range of other issues. You can offer, a really fantastic platform, a whole set of great ideas. But if your answer to a question about Gaza is that Israel has the right to defend itself, you're basically telling people that I'm full of crap and I'll probably fold on all that other great stuff too.
Okay. For me, I think, well, the answer should be like you look at all of the policy, as many things you can get your hands on, right? If you're so dedicated to paying attention to like what these politicians are doing, should probably look for every answer because once again, like they did this with Trump, right? With the whole Iran bombing, right? He bombed Iran and then nothing happened. See, look, we're doing good. Meanwhile, he's bombing Somalia at the same time. He's doing uh, incursions into Africa, incursions into South America, more incursions into other Middle Eastern countries. Uh, because he doesn't because he doesn't go to all out war with Iran does not make him like all of a sudden a peacenik or an anti-war fucking president at all. That'd be stupid to like to just take that for granted like that. So yeah, if they have a let's say quote unquote decent answer on Israel Palestine or Israel Gaza, it doesn't mean much if their other shit is full of shit. So it has to be all of it. If they're like if their idea is like anti-war in all these different areas of the world, but they're like, yo, go ahead and bomb Somalia though. They're already fucking up. Already fucking up.
Well, it's also dishonest of them to say that they didn't have to worry about the left until recently on the topic of Israel Gaza stuff because the left was out protesting the Gaza stuff at about 2 months after October 7th. Like,
Yeah.
they're like, the response about December time of 2023, there was an America protest like everywhere for what Israel was doing to Gaza, like
Yes.
across the country. And it's dishonest to say you didn't have to worry about the left for a while, just about the right. That's a bullshit statement.
I agree. Absolute bullshit. And I would have to ask Matt Duss, like, well, did you consider Biden and Kamala as the left? If you did, then you'd be dead fucking wrong with that statement. By a lot. Like very wrong. But even though like probably with us, like we can just know that already. But I'm saying like for him, like, okay, name your standards. If your standards are that Biden and Kamala are on the left and they're better at this, like, well, let's go over the evidence. I think you're gonna find out you're fucking wrong about that. So the left was not outflanking the fucking right on that. Now, if we go to like regular people, right? Regular people, sure, maybe more people on the quote unquote left of regular people were more attuned towards it. Although there were plenty of people on the right also attuned to it. But they thought that Trump was going to come in and change that, right? If I had to guess of like where like mentalities were at. So thus, maybe they were relying on someone unreliable that was going to try to go. Like they still cared about the issue. It's just they thought they had a solution like popping up, but they didn't actually have that, right? Obviously, based on hindsight. So, but I think regular people cared that were looking into it. I think regular people cared, straight up.
No, I looked at that as a wash. Like Trump's not going to do anything about this.
But there were plenty of people that were thinking that, right? Or no?
You could say plenty. I don't know.
We're like, oh, this guy's
Not
he's gonna stand up to Netanyahu and kind of shut this down and force a ceasefire through because he knows the art of a deal. He's gonna shut it down and make everything better, right? That was definitely an idea floating around there, right?
No, because
I think it was.
I remember saying electing Trump's gonna get our economy better, but we're gonna have to sacrifice the Muslims. I remember me saying that.
Yeah, I do remember that, but you were once again. I think you were a little bit.
I wasn't really joking.
I think you were a little ahead of the regular Trump supporter on that. Like probably, right? Probably. Like, let's be honest.
Well,
like, did they know about foreign policy like that, or do they think like, oh, Trump's going to come in and just end wars because he didn't start any new ones, so he's going to come in here and fight the deep state and fix things for us? The more like naive voters, and there's a lot of them like that, right?
I'd say there's a lot more Republicans that are just on the side of Israel blindly, but there are some that are like, no, fuck Israel. And they've been like, fuck Israel for 30 years.
Well, yeah, I didn't mean the like evangelical class, neocon class of Trump supporters. I meant like the average populace type of person. I think was,
I'm saying
which
that's
is a lot of
split.
people.
I'm saying that's split. No, I don't. I wouldn't say. I wouldn't. I couldn't put a percentage to it. I just don't know.
Yeah,
But there's some that are like, I'm blindly on Israel's side, and then there's some that are like, fuck Israel in all capacities.
yeah, and it's almost like mirrored on like the in the Democratic Party is probably like a small amount of like Israel no matter what. We like them no matter what, and more like the regular people there were like, yo, fuck Israel for what they're doing. And they also were kind of doing the same kind of MAGA phenomenon of, well, Biden is taking a hard stance against what Israel's doing, and if Trump comes in, it's going to make it worse. Was probably their idea, and I guess they probably feel justified right now, but I don't think it's actually justifiable or worthy, considering what we've now in retrospect like seen where the actual Biden administration was on that. But all right. Let's continue. Here we go. I want to hear his answer about this little offensive and defensive sense of things in regards to funding or helping Israel out. Here we go.
So it's a litmus test, I think, for a couple of really good
Now it is. Got it.
reasons. So I'm sorry, what was the second part of your question there?
Offensive and defensive.
The second part of my question was the distinction being made in some circles, at least, like between offensive and defensive weapons. Do you feel like this is a distinction without a difference?
I mean, I understand just you don't want to be. I mean, it's important to allow countries to defend themselves, to defend their civilians. We talk about that a lot with regard to Israel. It's a fair question. I think it's a very important question. Why do we never ask that of the Palestinians? Israel has a right to defend itself. Do the Palestinians have a right to defend themselves?
Okay.
I say yes.
I think, yeah, absolutely. I think they absolutely do. I mean, they not only have a right to defend themselves, they have a right to resist occupation, as any people do.
No, it's both legal and moral, for sure.
That's right.
But the problem they have with you, Matt Duss, or at least BadEmpanada has a problem with you, is that when the things initially kicked off, you were like kind of almost strictly on Israel's side in regards to that, this idea of being defensive. But now, as we've seen, like the blatant brutality of things that were present, and there was evidence for that being a possibility way back when, right back in 2023, October, November, December, it was pretty. You could see that hey, and also obviously like before all of that, but I'm just saying like once the October 7th thing happened, there was, if you actually paid attention, there was a good chance these guys would, saying Israel, might act in a very harsh and very brutalistic and inhumane way. There's plenty of evidence to showcase that being a possibility. And based on some of the things I've seen, Matt Duss, didn't seem like you didn't see that, which would make you a dummy, and why the fuck are you here? Or you knew, and you went along with it anyways, which means, why the fuck are you here? It's very convenient and very nice to be like, after all the massacring happens, you'd be like, oh, whoa, damn, maybe this is bad. Like, that's a different take than seeing the potential early on, which was there. It wasn't a mystery. It's just like Trump's second term. The things he's doing is not a fucking mystery to me. Like, these were showcased and there's evidence for it beforehand.
Right. Every day I was counting how many hospitals they've blown up.
So, like, once again, his job is foreign policy advisor for whoever, whether it's Bernie or it's just talking about the topic in general on behalf of maybe a section of the Democratic Party. Either way, it's like, yo, that's your job. That's your job. And dummies on the internet outflanked you on that? I'd be like, damn, I fucked up badly. And I let everyone know I fucked up very badly. But apparently not Matt Duss. Anyway, and Hasan can push on this. He can push hard if he wants to. So far, I'm still in alignment with, not all the way, but like some of the points that BadEmpanada was making. I'm still here with him on those points so far, because Hasan, you have to push back against this. Maybe I don't expect much from Matt Duss, but Hasan, based on the way you state yourself to be, not saying I believe that, but I'm just saying, like, these are your words out loud. You're stating yourself to be this. You better fucking push back on these things. There's no way around it, right? So, all right, let's find out what happens. Here we go.
They should do so within the bounds of international law with the treatment of civilians and non-combatants, just as Israel.
They were never following that in the
but
first place.
anyone
right?
should be able to answer unequivocally yes, that the Palestinians have a right to defend themselves. Now, going to this question of defensive versus offensive.
Do they have a right to exist too? Like, as a state? Like, what do you think about that? That should have been one of Hasan's questions. Like, okay, can you add on top of that? How about defensive? Like, they have a right to exist too. It should be on top of that, because that becomes like a legal question in a way of like, hey, should we petition to let these guys have a state to like the UN or whatever the fuck, right? And then like whoever you're a foreign policy advisor for should also be saying something similar because you're advising them on it, right? So there's plenty of questions to be asked here that you could go into, Hasan. But all right, here we go. Not saying you should cut him off. I'm just saying, like, there was an avenue right there to ask a question about this. But all right, here we go.
Combatants, just as Israel should. But anyone should be able to answer unequivocally yes, that the Palestinians have a right to defend themselves. Now, going to this question of defensive versus offensive, I understand that Congresswoman, AOC got some grief for her vote and then for her explanation. And I understand people's concerns about that. My kind of question here is like, was it worth spending that much bandwidth on this amendment that was not going to pass at all? I don't think so. She ended up voting against the entire bill anyway. That was the right vote. And I think where people should focus.
Well,
okay, so Hasan has to push back against this, because once the amendment happened, yes, you can vote against the whole thing in general as like a kind of a protest vote. But then you have the amendment from Marjorie Taylor Greene, right? Where it's like, she says, in particular, because of the actions of Israel, we're going to take out that $500 million funding, right? And AOC's reasoning for it was about the Iron Dome. And it's like, hey, if you have a nation that is, once again, like, what would their Iron Dome be for? It'd be against Iran, right? Or Yemen, right? Maybe not so much Syria, or Lebanon. That's what their Iron Dome is for. But if you look at their actions with Iran, Lebanon, and fucking Yemen, they'll be like, wait a minute, you're committing the crimes, and then we're going to give you a safety blanket for that. Now, do I think civilians should be harmed in any fucking combat thing? Of course not. I'll never be anywhere near accepting that. But that's not the idea of the Iron Dome. It isn't strictly defensive. It's, hey, we can bomb you, and we have specialized weapon systems that are provided to us by the U.S. to stop us from getting harmed. So thus we can theoretically bomb you with impunity, because they're getting, according to the U.S., the best technology, the best missiles, the best missile systems, both defensive and offensive. And these other countries don't get that. Once again, I'm not saying this is the way it is, like, in actuality. I'm just saying, like, on paper, the U.S. says they have the best weapons and the best weapon systems for defensive purposes. But they're all handing it to one side and one side only. And then you watch the actions of the people that are getting those U.S. weapons and funds, and it's like, wait a minute, they're doing criminal actions. So you can't support them getting fucking, quote-unquote, defensive weapon systems, because they're abusing it for the sake of fucking up other countries. Does AOC get that? Does she understand that? That'd be hard to believe. Like, once again, just like Matt Duss, that's your job, AOC. How do you not know that? Why does some dumb fuck on the internet know that and you don't? Yeah. Makes sense.
Leave the waitress alone. Leave the waitress alone.
Oh, come on. But, like, for this guy to come in, like, well, it's a good answer.
Sorry, bartender.
Whatever.
Bartender.
Whatever.
I forgot.
For this guy to come out as a so-called foreign policy expert, yeah, it's a good vote. Without adding any like, once again, I'm going to give Hasan a chance because it looks like he's about to talk, right? Maybe counter-respond. But off rip, I'd be like, what the fuck did you just say to me? No. It like, showcase the context of the scenario. Like, showcase it. You're the foreign policy expert, aren't you? Showcase the context of it. So I hope Hasan does that as like a counter question. But all right, here we go.
See, I agree with you.
You agree with him?
I think the concern that I have isn't like, oh, AOCIA or whatever the people say all the time in online circles.
Fuck the memes and marketing.
The concern I have
is,
and I think you'll agree with me on this, that there is a void in discourse right now with the way that the Democratic base feels is a 92-8 issue at this stage,
what?
right? And that void is being experienced in every facets of American politics. Like, there's independents are overwhelmingly seeing Israel in a disfavorable way. Even Republicans, by majority, regardless of their loyalty to Donald Trump, have had issues with Israel in ways that we've never seen in American politics before. So when the overwhelming public sentiment is, as I like to jokingly say, Israel o'clock, and the Democrats are completely unable to ride that wave, even on a partisan, even with a cynical, cold, calculated partisan analysis, I fear that void will be taken over by grifters and maybe even anti-Semitic people, and the Democrats are actually dropping the ball both politically and also on the policy front on this issue once again. I think
you're not supposed to. Am I tripping, or is that the Hasan character not supposed to be here to giving him like Democratic strategy to get more voters in there? I swear to God, I just laid out like a reasonable question to ask or context to bring up in regards to the answer he gave to that question. And Hasan is like, well, aren't you guys worried you're going to lose voters? That's his fucking response to that. Like, there's an actual reasonable fucking pushback on that, Hasan. It's not even conspiracy theory. There's a reasonable pushback. It's in your face of pushback. That's your fucking question. Now, hey, listen, I leave room because maybe people get caught up in the scenario and they're not even like, maybe they had like prepared answers or prepared questions for certain things or something like that, right? And
I didn't seem prepared.
It seemed kind of prepared, honestly.
This seems adaptive
Or memorized.
to who he's talking to. No, I think it's adaptive to who he's talking to. Like,
Really? Okay. I look at his eyes. I'm seeing his eyes peek back and forth. I like looking at something. I'm like, huh. Like, are you reading something here? I'm sorry. I leave that as a possibility. But either way, like he gave an answer about offensive versus defensive, and they brought up the whole AOC Iron Dome thing, which Hasan said he disagreed with. And I'm sure he has like a decent reason for that. Or I hope he does. So thus, say that reason. Say that reason why you disagree with that. And then you can go back to the quote-unquote bigger picture of, like, well, you guys are losing voters. Your answers are better, but you're giving away voters because, Marjorie Taylor Greene saying, fuck you, Israel, or Thomas Massey saying, fuck you, Israel, and you're losing voters to these Republicans, which is also, you shouldn't, playing on sides is stupid too, but I'm just saying, like, you could get to that kind of help the Democratic Party out because you think they're the lesser evil thing. You can get to that. But first, you can, if you look at Matt Duss as like, okay, he's just some guy, maybe he doesn't know. Let me help him out by showcasing an idea he hasn't heard of. Like, why not do that? If he dismisses you, I mean, I I would say what I would say, but at least it goes a little bit further than what the fuck Hasan's doing so far. Once again, maybe Hasan goes further from here. For all I know, I can't say I know, but the way he answered that right there,
Kalinske talk to his son.
Like, I wonder what Kyle thinks.
Does
Man.
Kyle Kalinske?
Yeah,
Does Kyle Kalinske talk to his son?
I don't know if they talk in like directly, either on the internet or in person, but I'm pretty sure Kyle has highlighted some of Hasan's videos, and probably the other way too. But also,
Kyle.
Oh God.
Maybe Kyle told Hasan what he said in that video. Democrats are better, but we gotta make them better than Republicans.
Or they are possible to make better versus the Republicans where you have no chance, which is where I think Kyle's at, right? And then you have, once again, a Bernie Sanders foreign policy advisor. How hard would Kyle go talking about this? Maybe he does. Like, I hope he does. But honestly, the way YouTube motherfuckers move around, I don't fucking know. I can't say I know. But all right, let's keep playing and hope Hasan has something bigger to say than, hey, you guys might lose votes. You might lose votes. Here we go.
AOC should be the person that is pushing for amendments like that. Do you disagree?
I don't know if that amendment is the one to fight on. I think there are a lot of great things that she's pushed, and she will. You know, we're moving into the NDAA. This big defense
Either
authorization
wrong or lying
bill.
already.
I'm really interested to see what she's going to be offering there. You know, I don't know if that one bill that Marjorie Taylor Greene offered was the kind of hill to fight on. I understand what people have concerned about it. I think
it was a statement thing. Duh. It was a statement
You don't
thing.
think it was a good statement? Like, it wasn't a worthy statement? Like, but you're saying at the same time, Palestine has the right to defend itself. But Marjorie Taylor Greene we're going to cut out $500 million from Israel, the attackers' defense.
Marjorie Taylor Greene made a point to point out Israel in particular because of what they're doing over there, right? That's probably
Right.
at least like on the surface, that's the argument. Once again, she could be full of shit for all I know, right? Because we saw Tulsi do that, right? Tulsi Gabbard, who ended up being full of shit, but we saw her put out amendments to certain bills to say, like, well, I'm not going to say he works for Russia, but I'll say he's doing these war crimes here. So thus, that's worthy of calling out. And she didn't get any support for that. God.
So regardless of the person, the statement stands. And Matt Truss had his own statements
Duss.
that Palestine has a right to defend itself, but we're giving all this defense to Israel. And that's what this statement says, is we shouldn't do that. And he's saying that's not worth fighting for. That's not a mountain worth standing on for.
Funny, but not funny. They have the right to defend themselves from our bombs. Funny, not funny. Where it's like,
right.
It's like, oh, that's a weird kind of statement at that point, right?
But he's saying that's a statement that doesn't need me to die on the hill for.
Well,
us cutting off the defense funding for Israel.
Well, let's be honest. That Marjorie Taylor Greene's amendment. Well, yeah, dude, but Marjorie Taylor Greene's thing was not going to stop support for Israel. The point was like kind of like a protest style vote, right? That's what the point of it was. And he's saying no, that's irrelevant.
But I'm saying he's saying this wasn't worth joining the protest against.
And I'll ask you, why do you think he's saying that?
But he's saying the other a few sentences. He's saying the opposite a few sentences earlier. So it is he's double talking at this point.
No.
as a politician.
No. See, look. AOC voted against the main overall bill, right, for offensive weaponry to Israel. There's other countries on there, by the way. It wasn't just Israel. But he's saying AOC voted voted against that. So and he's also asking, like, why would it be relevant to support Marjorie Taylor Greene's amendment? Well, the point was symbolic. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's obviously symbolic. It's to say, like, yeah, these guys are not in some sort of defensive posture. They're being aggressors against all these other nations. It's kind of clear as day they're doing that. And he's saying it's not worth it to do that. And then I ask you, Dusser, well, why? I get what you're saying. I'm just saying, like, well, why would Matt Duss do that? Because,
And that's my question.
Well, because it's a fucking Republican.
He's a politician.
Well, it's a Republican, and you can't have them support. They can't work together. They can't support each other. It's not a thing that's supposed to be okay.
Well, he's also a former Bernie Sanders who has intertwined himself also in different views. And this guy, Matt Truss, is connected to him too. So he can't. He's kind of like in between like 4 or 5 different associations of who he has to mold a character out of. So he has to. He knows the channel he's on.
Mm-hmm.
He knows who he has formerly worked for, and he knows where he wants to work tomorrow.
Yeah, and well, let's be real. Essentially, he currently, in my opinion, he currently works for the Democratic Party because once again, in my opinion, the sole reason why he's against Marjorie Taylor Greene's amendment is she's a Republican saying that. If AOC made that bill, I'd be like, oh my God, the greatest bill, greatest amendment of all time, and no one's supporting it? You guys are just haters. Like, he'd probably be in that category. And also his name is Duss. D-U-S-S, not Truss. You fuckface. Anyways.
I didn't say it. I didn't say that. I said Duss.
You said Truss or some shit, you fuck. Whatever.
Well, either which way, he's like molding himself into what he thinks is gonna fit categories that whoever he's an employee of next can still get elected.
Yes, for them. And also BadEmpanada's point of view was that he's doing this to do like a PR change to showcase how much he's against what's happening. But at the same time, he made a note to like protect AOC on that thing that even Hasan himself is against. And apparently Hasan's got nothing for it, I guess. Aren't you? He's like, aren't you worried about losing votes?
Okay.
Aren't you worried about losing votes, man? Come on. Like, is that how you talk, or is it like, yo, if you cross my principal boundaries, go fuck yourself? Now you don't have to do it that way, but I'm saying like you have questions for them at that point, right? Because they cross their moral boundaries.
I want to see Hasan act like he does when he's talking to somebody in the chat, where he gets so flippin' mad, he starts fucking breaking shit in his own room. But I don't expect that at all, because he's also fake as fuck. Like, come on, this is a dude you could get mad as fuck at.
I mean, honestly, I think you have a point there, because let's say Hasan views himself as the real progressive, right? As the real Democratic socialist, or whatever the fuck the idea is, right? Let's say he views himself as the real thing, and he sees this guy entering his fucking living room, siphoning off of viewers to push them in the Democratic Party direction, which would be against what Hasan wants. So yeah, theoretically, he should be a little bit pissed about this. But I leave room once again. We're 5 minutes in. I leave room for all of this. Not saying I'm playing the whole video. I'm just saying, like, we watched like 5 minutes of it.
Yeah.
But these are things that Hasan should have solid gold answers for, straight up. My God.
Yeah, he's watering himself down because he obviously looks at this as a good connection, and he doesn't want to burn a bridge.
And it's a trend. It's a fucking trend.
Yeah.
Where you say one thing, like you guys are talking with each other right here, and he's saying bullshit in front of your face, right? And then there's a time when he's not there. You're tweeting about him. It's like, well, you did. The guy was right here saying those ideas right in front of your face, right? So I was like, dude, what's the excuse for that? But all right, let's keep going. Here we go.
There are smarter places to fight, but I would also say, people should understand, and I think most people do, that she's been
fight
one
everything
of the
you
great
don't
champions
like.
on this. And I think it's fair to have disagreements and to question some of the choices she makes, but I also think it's important to keep that in mind. I mean, she has done enormous work.
Oh, for sure. She called it a genocide way before
That's
many
fucking
people did in
joke.
Congress.
Right.
And that should be recognized, and I definitely do recognize that, which is why I.
Anyone can say it's a genocide out loud. We all speak English here, guys. Anyone can say that. Anyone can say free Palestine. They're just words. Right? They're just words. Fuck my life, man. It's about like what's meant behind your words when you say them. Duh. But no one cares to find out. They just want to know if you're wearing a t-shirt that says free Palestine on it or not. Or it's a genocide in their fucking Twitter feed. Not good enough.
Hasn't Hasan had huge problems with AOC?
What I'm aware of is that he sat down with Bernie Sanders and AOC, like in the backstage of one of their rallies. He talked to them, gave him another pillow interview, and then complained later on Twitter. Maybe not that day, but a couple days later.
Like, those are the fights he has. Like, with people that call in that listen to him all the fucking time. And they're like,
I don't know.
bro, why are you losing your shit on AOC? And he's like, because she's not doing this, she's not doing that, she ain't doing fucking shit.
I think he got some slack
And now
for
he just
criticizing AOC, but like, yeah. No, that's fair enough.
So just now, him saying, yeah, I agree with her on a lot of things. It's like, whatever. That's a joke.
Well, I think it looks her and Bernie. If all you're following is electoral politics and the people that are in office right now, her and Bernie look like fucking heroes and mavericks. When in reality, when you actually look at their policies, like they don't look that good, do they? Compared to your favorite journalist on antiwar.com or something, right? Like those guys outflanked them by miles. Miles and miles they outflanked them. And somehow, AOC with all the resources she has, Bernie Sanders with all the resources he has, somehow don't catch up on this stuff. Somehow. Or they're okay with it. Which is probably worse, right? They know what's going on, and they still do motions in that direction. Where it's like, God, that's fucking pathetic, actually.
Apparently, Congress learns everything from the news.
I mean, I'm watching, like, maybe it's a disease or something. I'm watching Hasan debunk the guy through his editors, putting up headlines of articles. I'm just saying, like, oh, no, okay. Unfolding, even that debunks what he was saying, right? Unfolding genocide. It's almost a genocide. It's almost there. It'd be nice if you put, like, the date there, if you linked everything, your source. Let's find out if he has. Of course not. None of it's sourced. Got it. Shows the headline, keeps it moving. What's the date of the fucking thing? This article is more than 1 year old. That gives me no real timing for all. Whatever. Okay. What am I expecting here? All right. Here we go. Let's keep on.
Enormous work.
Oh, for sure. She called it a genocide way before many people did in Congress.
Wow.
Right.
She said the word
that should be recognized, and I definitely do recognize that, which is why I always think
Bernie
like
hasn't.
it's inconsistent, even in the simplest terms. If you're like saying that this country is committing a genocide, but then you're also saying like, but we have to keep giving it weapons to allow itself to continue behaving in this belligerent way, because that's my main point on this, is that like everyone, including Israeli society and Israeli officials, knows that without America's unlimited support in Israel's offensive capabilities and its defensive capabilities since October 7. 70% of all munitions that Israel has used has come from the United States of America, both on the defensive side and on the offensive side. We've moved our Navy around Israel's enemies and around Israel's allies as well in an effort to defend Israel whenever
Also, we pay them to pay our weapon manufacturers to buy weapons. That's also another scenario. So that 75% might be a little bit shaky in reality. We give them money to buy weapons from us, which is not from us, as in like Americans, where we get like a profit off of it, but from like actual weapon manufacturers. So thus, so it's almost like it's laundering essentially at that point, right? It's laundering to Boeing and fucking what am I thinking of? The other fucking weapons manufacturer, like Raytheon and all these fucking companies, right? Probably the AI
starts
too.
with an L. What's the one that starts with an L?
I'm mind blanking.
Planes usually.
No, I said Boeing. All right.
No, there's another one. Lockhart.
Lockheed Martin. Jesus Christ.
Lockheed.
And then you have like the AI stuff, right? With Microsoft and XAI and ChatGPT. Like they're siphoning shit from there too as well. So like there's a whole apparatus happening that could be brought up here. All right, here we go. It's just nitpicking, I guess. Here we go.
there's retaliation from countries or militancy groups that have the capacity to resist against Israel or to fight back. And in that process, like, I think we're giving Israel bandwidth to continue behaving in this belligerent way. And defensive weapons, I think, play a formative role in this.
Yeah, I get that. I mean,
That's
and
better,
also, I get that, money is fungible, and money they are getting for, quote unquote defensive weapons is money that they don't have to, that they can then spend on offensive weapons. So, I get those arguments. Yeah. I guess,
yes, part of that $500 million that was given to Israel in that one bill, although that's minuscule compared to what we actually give them overall. But within that $500 million, I think they bought like Humvees and fucking kind of like mount weapon on vehicles and shit like that, right? So even though the idea was for Iron Dome shit, it could have went to offensive weaponry. Let's be honest, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I could be wrong. I'm just throwing it out there as like a possibility, according to like things I've read and seen and videos and all that shit. But all right, here we go.
Role in this.
Yeah, I get that.
Not a bad question.
And also, I get that, money is fungible, and money they are getting for, quote unquote defensive weapons is money that they don't have to, that they can then spend on offensive weapons. So, I get those arguments. Yeah. I guess what I would say is that it's fine to disagree with the vote and disagree with her explanation, but I also think in terms of, where we're focusing our energy and where activists are focusing their energy, it's rather than going after her, it's like, I want more people to be voting against the offensive weapons,
Fuck. Like, look what we're talking about. Like, does that not come off as like some guy just like avoiding criticizing AOC or something? Does it not like come off that way? Like, what the fuck is that? He gave you some context.
It was a dodge of a question.
I think it was a poor rebuttal by Hasan. Like he could have went in like detail. Instead, he made it like a little bit more of a widespread question. But still, the answer to that is like, well, why are we getting bogged down with AOC's votes? Meanwhile, you just called her like awesome or something like that, right? It's like, man, if people did what AOC did, we'd be better off. Like, well, AOC did do something here. Yes, it was a protest vote, but she still did this. You say, oh, why are we getting bogged down by that? Let's focus on the people that voted for the fucking bill. Like, what? It's not the context of the situation. The idea is that, according to him, like with him working for Bernie Sanders, right? That Bernie Sanders himself is that there's a problem in the Democratic Party, right? of special money interests and all this shit, right? That's like a lot of the talking points. So yes, it is very pertinent to get bogged down with what AOC is fucking doing. Because if she's somehow voting in line with these guys on anything, that should be a big fucking problem. A big one. It just comes off as like full of shit. Like, are you guys neighbors or something? You guys best friends? You guys go to happy hour together? Like, what's the fucking deal here, Matt Duss? And
He's trying to get some of that AOC pussy.
well, it sounds like he's not some like independent thinker talking about this stuff. It sounds like he's still an advisor. Like he's not former. He's still like in a way an advisor or trying to be one, which is the same as being a fucking advisor. It's incredible.
I didn't insult you. Please hire me.
Like Hasan's heart should drop a bit. Like, damn, is no one fucking real around here? Fuck. All right.
You should have realized that though. And he
I
realizes
think
that
he
when
should've.
he's not talking to one of them.
I mean, as much as this is Matt Duss's job, it's also Hasan's job too, isn't it? It's
Right.
his job to do the politics.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's just Hasan realizes this when he's not talking to one of them. So
Yeah.
this is a chicken shit thing he's doing.
My guess? Yeah. Probably. And I don't know for what. You want more conversations with Matt fucking Duss? This dummy? I'm desperate for more conversations with Matt fucking Duss? Come on. The point, like, what's the point of that shit? There's a point for it, but it's like, it's not your point of what you do, right, Hasan? You're not dying to talk to Matt. Like, it's not like the thing, right? If I had to guess. Important.
He eventually wants to interview Netanyahu, and if he comes off
That's
mean to
not
Matt
happening.
Duss,
That's not
that
happening.
Netanyahu will not fucking come on his show.
See, at this point, I don't know what would be like actually more pernicious. Like, just roll with me on this. Not saying Hasan's like some evil person or a bad guy or whatever the fuck. I don't know. But it'd almost be more pernicious if he let Matt Duss slide over Netanyahu. Because if you want some sort of representative of your ideas or of your audience's ideas, and the guy that may be pretending to be into your ideas, if you let that guy slide, couldn't that come off as like almost worse than the fucking, you know, I'm the genocide president, I destroy people, I kill them on purpose, all that shit. It almost comes off as worse because you're letting the guy with the mask on slip by you. You might get fucked harder from that. I'm just saying, like, I'm not gonna say more pernicious, but I'm saying like, just like thought experiment with me. That's all I'm saying. It almost might be like, ooh, that's
Well,
like,
that's what I'm saying. He is. It's like he's going light on the authority because it's the authority, because the authority won't do interviews unless they're softball.
Yeah. And let's be honest, the real problem, like in my humble opinion, would be the audience watching this and not if they don't see that, right? Then we got big problems. If it takes Netanyahu going on Hasan's fucking podcast and he's like, "Oh, Netanyahu, I love everything you do." If that's what it takes for you to realize, like, this is not legit, there's something not right about this. If that's what it takes, your audience, we got bigger fucking problems, right? Like, come on, guys.
What if it got to like in 2 more years, he finally gets an interview with Netanyahu, and then Hassan's tough question is, couldn't you just drop 1 or 2 less bombs?
I was gonna go full joke scenario, like, why do you gotta wear a red tie? Put on a blue one. But that one's actually like borderline feasible. I'm not saying I think that would happen. It's just like Can you imagine that? He's like, well, can we convince you to drop a little bit less bombs, kill a little bit less families, starve a little bit less people? Can you do that for us, please? Can you imagine that? I think my skull would
Yeah.
actually erupt. I'd be like, well, no point of being here. My brain would self-destruct. Like, all right, let's leave. Let's get out of here. I'm trying to do the smart thing here. Let's end our lives and get the fuck out of here.
Or the war's over, and then Hasan's just like, just whatever the new topic is, that's the questions he has for Netanyahu. He wouldn't have any questions about the previous 2 years.
Well, that's the thing with Matt Duss, right? He's apparently complaining now about the genocide, right? But I mean, I've been saying this since Trump walked in the fucking office, where I'm like, well, even before that, where I'm like, yo, guys, they're going so fast, breakneck speeds, that it's like, I think it's like too late. You don't have people in the United States government right now that are going to fight this. You know, you have some people in the military that don't like what's happening, but let's be real. Are they the commanders and chiefs of all this shit? They're not. So when Matt Duss can get on camera and say, well, hey, man, this thing that's happening over there is pretty bad. This is a bad thing. It's Netanyahu doing it. It's really bad. It's like, well, yeah, he already stabbed the body like 10 times. Now it's bad? But there was a event before this where the knife was in the air still. He didn't stab him yet. And you didn't say anything. In fact, you said the killer has the right to defend themselves while they're holding a knife over an innocent body. Right, Matt Duss? That's where we're at, man. Like, actually, that's exactly where, like, in my humble opinion, that is exactly where we're at.
Here, you don't have enough knives. I'm going to give you some more knives before you stab this person.
Here's a fucking body shield because they might stab you back. Here's a body shield. That's kind of like, once again, and someone's going to probably take that and like, oh my God, you support what happened on October 7th? Like, no, I don't at all, if you ever heard me talk before. But that's not the point of the scenario. It's that the things that Israel's doing in Gaza right now were predictable. Very predictable. They were predictable before October 7th. It sounds crazy, but I'm sorry. There's evidence for it. There are plenty of people, not enough, but plenty of people that before October 7th, like, yeah, Israel's goal is to like wipe these guys out. Kind of clear as day. And then when October 7th happens, and they're like, okay, we have all the permission to just destroy these fools. Yeah. That's very predictable. Very much so. Like, it'd be mind-boggling if you didn't think that, if you paid attention to any of the shit that was going on over there before October 7th. But, and then the entanglement with U.S. policy, it was all there. It was all there. But, all right. Here we go. Any more?
Yeah. No, and the other thing that I also am finding myself consistently trying to get politicians on the Democratic side to like advocate for is that if they lead on this issue and even are unafraid to take bold and, dare I say, radical, I guess, stances on issues like this, they will immediately move the Overton window in a more positive direction. What I mean by this is, if congressional leaders that are the most progressive right now were running around talking about no more weapons to Israel at all, and maybe even a sanctions package to Israel, if that was the advocacy that you heard from the Bernie Sanders and the AOCs of the world, and like bold and progressive policymakers, then I think more moderate parts of the Democratic Party would inevitably try to find a centrist position and retriangulate their perspective instead of just like
strategy. Okay.
Continuing to say like, oh, well, we don't know if we can stop giving weapons to Israel. That's just the way I see it. I think that that's part of the reason why the Republicans have dominated discourse on every issue about domestic and foreign policy in perpetuity, because they're unafraid to be radical.
I mean, don't get me. I'm with you on that. I mean, we need kind of bolder, more courageous leadership on a whole range of issues. So I agree there. But I'll say just on this one issue, I mean, even that Politico article, the fact that Pete was even asked about banning arms sales is because of Bernie's resolutions. These joint resolutions of disapproval that Bernie.
That was around before Bernie Sanders. Like, why is he making a point of braggadociousness for Bernie fucking Sanders? That idea's been around of banning arms to Israel. Like based on Bernie's policy voting, he's late on that topic. Like way late, actually. It took an open, blatant, all over the internet genocide for you to be like, okay, maybe we should stop giving them arms. They were already subjugating Palestinians before that. And I don't mean Hamas. I mean regular ass fucking people that are like, yo, we're tired of getting treated like shit. That weren't grabbing arms and trying to fight back with guns and all that shit and rockets. Just regular ass people holding signs saying like, yo, you're fucking us up, guys. And Bernie was still supporting them at that point. Israel, that is. Isn't that enough to be like, hey, we shouldn't give them weapons because they're using it against innocent people? They're bulldozing innocent people's housing. Shouldn't Bernie already be on top of that? It's his fucking job, isn't it? That's what he's here for, isn't it? What the fuck? Why do dummies on the internet know this shit, but he doesn't? Fuck. It's insulting to my intelligence. He used this moment to brag about Bernie Sanders. That's weird, right? It's a weird thing to fucking do. It reminds me exactly of like the Trump people. Say, well, he didn't start any new wars. He's bombing here, he's bombing there, he's bombing all over the fucking place. But he didn't start it though.
None of them are wars.
He didn't start it.
None of them are wars.
Oh, okay.
They're just bombings.
And it's like, is that good enough? Yo, Hasan, if a Trump supporter said that in front of you, what would you do with that? He'd rip it to fucking shreds. Dude. Oh. All right, here we go.
The fact that Pete was even asked about banning arms sales is because of Bernie's resolutions. These joint resolutions of disapproval.
I thought it was the massacring on the internet,
and it was voted on a few weeks ago. It got the most votes from any from Democrats ever. I think it was 27 for one, 24 for another. Both of them more than half of the Democratic caucus in the Senate. Still too few, in my view. I mean, this should have, when you look at the reality of the genocide and what's being done with our weapons, I mean, we should have stopped these arms sales a long, long time ago. But
Hasan, it's time to do a litmus test. But hey, man, but Bernie was kind of late. Like Bernie was late on this, wasn't he? What do you think about that, Matt Duss? And if he starts pivoting and dancing around, like, okay, I see where you're at. Now I get it. Like, turn it to kindergarten level. Ask a simple, dumb guy logic fucking question. And if he starts dancing around, you know what's up. That's what I said about Dave Smith talking to Douglas Murray, where he's saying, like, oh, it's a massacre. He's like, and Douglas Murray responds, that's just war. That's what war is. Now you know. Now we know. We know where the fuck you're coming from now. Now we fucking know where you're coming from.
You can't speak on places you've never been to.
I recommend more movies for people for having abstract intelligence in regards to asking questions and epistemology and all that stuff. I recommend more abstract intelligence. I do that stuff. Anyways, here we go.
Still recognizing the weird way that this issue works, I think it is important to chalk that up as an important achievement. But also one of the achievements was getting potential candidates for 2028 to have to answer, what would you have done? Senator Alyssa Slotkin, who managed not to be there for the.
Damn, that worked for. Remember, wasn't one of Bernie's big policies Medicare for all? How'd that work out, huh? What'd they do? What happened in 2020 when he was running for office with 10, 15, 20 other fucking Democrats running with him, next to him? What'd they do? Well, this is called Medicare for America. This is called healthcare for all. They took the brand name, switched up the policy, and tried to flood Bernie's shit. That's what happened. And like a coward, he sat there and watched it happen. He knew what the fuck they were doing. I have to believe that. There's no way I assume he's that stupid. He doesn't realize that they're adopting his policy, but making it watered down so that they can use the brand name for their own fucking campaigns. Are you telling me Bernie's too stupid to figure that one out? So what? He says some name for some bill or something like that, or an idea of something, and someone comes in and twists it into a million fucking pieces, and that's good enough for you, Matt Duss? Like, come on. Yo, Hasan, you see this, right? You were paying attention, weren't you? Like, you can notice this, right? What's happening here? Well, okay, to be fair, I don't know if Matt Duss is doing that, but you can ask questions that could maybe showcase where the fuck he's coming from. Why are you asking things like this? Or why are you answering questions like this way? You can ask questions to try to figure that out. If he doesn't answer the questions, that should be as telling as anything else. That should be as telling as a bad answer. By the way, for me, saying I don't know is actually acceptable. Maybe not for a foreign policy advisor. Like they say, I don't know about a certain foreign policy idea. But just in life, it's fine to say, like, yeah, I don't know that answer to that question. I don't know. That's fine. But to not actually get to the crux of what's being asked here is insane to me. To allow that to happen is fucking insane to me. Here we go. Fuck my life. Why do
I
do
think
this?
it is
I don't
important to
even
chalk that up as an important achievement, but also one of the achievements was getting, potential candidates for 2028 to have to
damn.
answer what would you have done. Senator Alyssa
What do you think
Slotkin,
about
who managed
Medicare
not
for
to
all?
be there
Well,
for
I
the vote.
support it. My
She had
version.
to answer the question, would you have voted for it? Gallego, also not there, had to answer the question. This is going to keep coming up. It's going to be a question that's going to be asked to
Wow, what a
every
litmus test.
candidate who wants to run in the 2028 primary, and that's important.
Yeah. This was not only a litmus. This is not only a litmus test for upcoming elections, but I think this was a litmus test in many ways for the previous
I've not
election
watched
as
this video
well.
before.
And I wanted to hear your perspective on this because a lot of people, I think, falsely claimed that the left was a single issue on this, right? And that the left was responsible for the defeat of Kamala Harris, which, of course, if you actually look at the numbers, like Jill Stein and all the other third-party spoilers that are supposed to be on the left flank.
Generic fucking question.
Did not
Hasan.
actually make up for the margin of defeat
Hasan.
anyway. So it's objectively false to make this claim. But
Sorry, that's a fair question. I'm frustrated.
But I think that a lot of people, including those who I talked to, including the Pod Johns that I talked to before the election and the lead up when I was like ringing the alarm bells about this issue, actively avoided it. And I think it was actually deliberately cut out of their autopsy on why the campaign failed as well, like this issue in particular, because people's attitudes about what's going on in Gaza and about what Israel is doing did not dramatically swing overnight. There were numerous polls that showed that denying weapons to Israel and forcibly implementing a ceasefire would have been a very important issue that Kamala Harris could deviate away from the Biden regime on, and yet she failed to do so. So what do you...
Well, she should try to outright call out what Biden did during... or in his administration in regards to Gaza, because it was... We were just talking about this before, Dubster, right? Where it's like fucking billions of dollars are there that the Trump administration is actually pulling from to fund Israel to this day right now. Based on past contracts, meaning like they were in full throat support of what was happening over there. And that's no surprise.
This just came out of the Defense Department. The $1 trillion they just got.
Yes, the over $1 trillion military budget that Trump was going to. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they just took it out of that, and that was today. Like, no vote, no nothing. the vote was, how much are we going to fund the American military budget? That was passed a month or so ago.
Yeah.
And then now, today, it was decided not by Congress. I'm not even sure who decided it, but somebody just took it out of that.
Initially Congress, because they voted for the amount of money in the first place, and then the Trump administration has the ability to dish out on their own volition. Like
It was
Yeah.
the number that I read was 3.5 billion. So
yes, but I think it's I think they fuck. Don't trust me on this, but I think it's added. It's almost like the COVID money, right? Okay. You guys get $1,200, right, or something like that, or 2,400, based on circumstance or whatever the fuck. But it's like you're gonna pay us. You're gonna essentially pay us back later. Not saying that's the case with the Israel thing, but it's like, okay, here's future funds that you guys are kind of guaranteed. We're gonna pull some of those funds, of those future funds, and drop them now instead of waiting to send it later. If that makes sense. Now,
Okay.
I please do not buy my word on that one. I say go look that up. I'm kind of like playing with things I've seen with my own intuitive
that's
sense
also
of
not-
possibilities. Yeah, good.
that's also not. That's just for resupplying them
Yes.
with what they've had before all this conflict shit's kind of going on. We've given them $25 billion this year.
I mean, we rearmed them during ceasefires. We've given them even more than that amount of money from weapons to defensive weapons
Right.
to intel to personnel to like we are actually like breaking the bank on this shit. And I think the idea is to get it done with as fast as possible. Whether it's make a $1 billion deal with some other country to move them there, move Palestinians there, or Gazans there, or whatever it is, or more weaponry and more bulldozers and like all that shit. So the bank is actually being broken for this thing, as far as I understand. I could be wrong, but I beg someone in the comment section to actually correct me if I'm wrong about any of that. But I'm pretty sure that's the case. Like, it's almost like a black budget at this point, if I had to guess. I'm sure there's people like tracking it, but like what I've seen, like it almost seems like a blank checkbook, and like like Iraq, where there's like money just randomly missing all of a sudden. I wouldn't be surprised if shit like that's happening. Once again, based on my intuition, I can't say I know that at all.
Okay, so money is just grease the wheels, get this shit over with. Let's hurry up.
Yeah.
So you're saying money's flowing out more than what we're even seeing.
Yeah, and I brought up the idea where they made it look like, oh no, Israel's spending money too, but reality, we're giving them money to buy our weapons from us. Not from us, the people, but from particular corporations, right, in America. But on the books, it looks like Israel's also spending money to do what they're doing. Like, it actually is some of the most criminal shit you could probably think of, is my guess of what's happening. But once again, do not trust me. Go research it. Yeah.
We're also probably doing a lot of a hammer costs $700. Why?
Yeah, just laundering shit. Oh, Ziploc bags, $5,000. Like, what? For a pack of Ziploc bags? Yeah, we need. The price has gone up.
Yeah.
Have you seen what Venezuela's doing? That's why the prices are so high. We got to spend the money anyway. We got to spend it. We got to spend it.
We just put a ship by Venezuela. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I did a video. 4,000 Marines of ships kind of borderline surrounding Venezuela because the president's such a drug dealer, I guess. Like a very lazy excuse and lazy reasoning, but they already know that even the people that are complaining about the Trump administration right now, they have no idea that they've been fucking with Venezuela the whole fucking time. They have no clue about that. So them putting warships around Venezuela, they won't even know about it, most likely, or care, probably. My humble opinion.
No, probably. And if they do know about it, they're pro for it. I'm
Get the
I'm
goddamn
pro for
communists
it.
out
Fuck.
of
Yeah.
here. God. Just say you're trolling. We can move on. Say you're trolling.
I'm not trolling. I'm pro for it.
You're trolling. Fuck your Monroe doctrine. Just say you're trolling. We'll move on.
That's what we need to be focused on. Fuck Israel, dude. We need the Monroe Doctrine. That's the actual answer to multipolar issues.
I can hear you like sloggingly falling asleep as you're saying your bullshit propaganda. You fuckface. All right.
That's the real thing. We need to write off Israel. Like they're done. Fuck it. Let's just admit it.
Too much invested,
What
man.
we've done in the Middle East is fucking pissed off half the world, and we've lost the ability to control it like that. Unipolarism's gone.
Now,
Do the Monroe Doctrine. That's our angle. Monroe Doctrine.
this is not what I believe, but what I think they believe, which is they built the rocket ship and there's 3 screws left. They're important screws, but there's only 3 screws left. And you're telling them to stop. They're going to say, fuck you, Dubster. We're going to finish this fucking rocket ship and build it. That's where they're at.
Fucking launch it. It's not gonna get to outer space. The atmosphere will eat it up. I'm telling you, you got the wrong design.
Not for creepy businessmen, dude. It's like, it is the right design for them, which is hotel casinos and
What
all
I'm
that
saying
shit.
is, fine, finish your rocket. Go get your 3 screws. Launch that motherfucker. See what happens. And when
What's
you're
going to
ready to
happen is
get some
Abu
reality,
Dhabi. Abu Dhabi's going to happen.
I don't know what that means.
A fucking like luxury place, luxury hotels and casinos and shit like that's gonna be there. Beachfront
It's
property.
not though.
It probably is. It's gonna take a long time, but it's probably gonna be there at some point because they are working so fast with impunity, destroying that entire territory. That yes, they are on their way to what the fuck I think they're envisioning. They're like right there.
Oh no. I'm saying
3 screws left.
it ain't gonna work out. I'm saying it's not gonna work out for them. So go ahead and finish your 3 screws. You're not gonna achieve what you're trying to achieve.
I think they do, and Trump and Netanyahu and their administrations will take the blame, but then someone else will get voted in. They'll be like, okay, things are better now. And they'll turn their fucking brains back off again. That's a very distinct possibility. I leave room for that idea. I do.
The only way they achieve it is if they just make everybody the opposing forces of with the multipolar world are just cowards because they have the power to make it a multipolar versus a unipolar. It's if they're chicken. And do you think Xi and Putin are chicken? Is the question.
Yeah,
Xi,
they're
Putin.
they're the biggest pussies on the planet, in my humble opinion. And you mean Xi, right?
Okay.
China's leader.
Whatever, it's XI, so say it however you want to say it.
Whatever. The point is, like I was arguing with Josh before, where it's like yeah, this shit could end, but not in the way I like. It's very possible the thing could end in the way I don't like. Just like, the war in Gaza could end, the genocide and Holocaust in Gaza could end, but not the way I would want it to be. I suspect it'll
Well, I don't
be
necessarily
bodies
want
dropped
multipolar or
and people
unipolar.
displaced. Bodies dropped, people displaced. Well, at least they ended it. It's over now. And the same thing could happen with these other scenarios where they almost psychologically give you the options of here's our terrible dog shit like solution for things, and then your solution is going to be mass fucking fuck people up shit. We win
Both
either
of them.
way. We'll win either way.
Multipolar and multipolar and unipolar are not
Yeah.
moral or ethical. They're just two different strategies.
But I'm saying
They're opposing strategies.
I'm saying the guy with the horns and the tail is gonna win, and we lose. That's all I'm saying. But let's keep it moving. There's more of Hasan Piker and Matt Duss. Here we go.
What is your assessment on this?
Yeah, and I'll just say there's
I
been
gotta go to
polling. I remember
bed.
there's one
Well,
poll
have
that
a
came
good
out in
night.
Yeah, I could hear that.
2019
Have a
by
good
the
night,
Center
man.
for American Progress, where I used to work years and years ago. But I say that because the Center for American Progress is a very closely party aligned think tank,
Oh,
and
yeah.
they put out a poll that showed a majority of
Three
Democrats
proposals
in
showing the
2019
ceasefire and weapons
supported
embargo helped
blocking aid,
Kamala win.
conditioning aid. So this has been
She can't use words. She can't just be like, "Hey, I don't like what's happening over there." That's not good enough. I forgot his name, man. FB. Fuck, I forgot his name, man. I almost want to say like Salinger, but I think it was something else. FB Salinger. I think that's wrong. But that guy was essentially saying like, well, it was impossible for Kamala to win because she's a woman and she's black. And I was saying if she said the right things, she could have won if she wanted to. But she's not allowed to say those things because it would disrupt the Democratic Party. It would fuck it up. So thus she can't say those things. But if she wanted to like actually make a big hoo-ha out of fucking Gaza, she could have. It's just that's not where the party's at in regards to that topic. They're not there for that. Like they're not there. At
Party?
best,
What about
yeah.
Kamala? Like I'm looking at these the headlines here.
Yeah.
And they're saying what would help Kamala. I don't see any of these titles saying what that she's for it. That
Agreed. Yeah. At best, like okay, marketing wise, people view Trump as like he's out here stopping things. He's stopping wars from happening. That was the marketing. And the only way to actually outflank that on a political, strategical level, which I fucking hate, but whatever, would be to like actually outflank him. Say things he can't say out loud. Which is what he did to Hillary, right? In 2016. He said things that she can't say out loud. She can't say WikiLeaks, but he can. She can't say, oh, the fucking corruption in Washington, like really like go over the corruption in Washington. Well, not really, but like enough words towards it. She couldn't do that. So thus, on the surface, on marketing level, he outflanked her. Now, where could Kamala outflank Trump on this topic? She can't go too far. In fact, Trump was like, what did he say during the debates? He's like, well, Kamala, I mean, she's kind of like a Palestinian, isn't she? She's kind of like a Palestinian. But they hate her. They all hate her. Everyone hates her. She wants to destroy the Jewish state. He was saying shit like that during the debates. And Kamala's response is, no, I love them. I love the Jewish state. Like, that was the things being said, dude. I'm paraphrasing and being like a little bit hyperbolic, but that's what was being said. So thus, like, come on. Now, once again, they could say Biden and Harris's administration. Remember AOC getting on stage and saying they're working towards a ceasefire. That didn't work, did it? I mean, in reality, they weren't actually doing that. They weren't working towards a ceasefire. They were working to just fund Israel's war crimes. They were there to fund it. But just saying, like, yeah, a ceasefire. Yeah, we're working night and day for that. Not good enough. But you can actually say details, like actual details out loud to where you're not denied anymore. That's my guess. Like the influencers or the content creators would be like, damn, let's play the shit that Kamala Harris said because she fucking nailed it. Let's play it over and over and over again in fucking campaign season. Oh shit, Okay, these same content creators are playing like Trump's response to it, which is dog shit, dog shit, dog shit. Thus, you did have a chance. You did. But she's not willing to sacrifice the devil worshipping of the Democratic Party to make these things happen. Let's just be honest. She's not willing to like allow that. Because she's one of them. Duh. Just like Trump is one of them. Duh. But I'll try to shut up. I know I pause every 5 seconds. Guys, it's just there's a lot of bullshit flying around, and I'm trying my best. Even if you heard it 10 million times from me, I'm still trying my best to like say it anyways. Here we go.
I say that because, the Center for American Progress is a very closely party aligned think tank, and they put out a poll that showed a majority of Democrats in 2019 supported, blocking aid, conditioning aid. So this has been a majority position among Democratic voters for more than 2 election cycles now.
Voters, but not Congress.
It's now a super majority that supports this, and for very understandable reasons. Now, I don't know that I know that the Pod Save guys have actually covered Gaza and Palestine quite a bit. I do want to recognize that. And going back to 2019, it was actually.
I'm sorry for pausing again, but I just watched a video from Pod Save America where they're interviewing Pete Buttigieg, and he's giving dogshit answers with no follow-ups to those dogshit answers. Thus, they're not. Forgive me. I think that's from like days ago. So forgive me for not thinking those guys are actually putting feet to the fire, if you will. The fire, as Jimmy Dore says. All right, here we go.
For very understandable reasons. Now, I don't know that I know that the Pod Save guys have actually covered Gaza and Palestine quite a bit. I do want to recognize that.
Probably not really.
Going back to 2019, it was actually, they hosted a series of talks at the J Street conference where Bernie came out and declared, conditioning aid. Warren came out. Buttigieg came out and declared support for it for like 2 weeks.
There's plenty of people criticizing the J Street people, right? I don't even know what that means. I think it's Jewish Street or some shit like that. I think there's a lot more on the ground support for if you're gonna go with Jewish, I guess. Jewish Voices for Peace, I think, has a lot more credibility, as far as I understand, for like maybe the Hasan people. I can't say I know. I don't know. I don't follow enough, but of names I've heard them as being considered more credible than J Street. In fact, I see J Street get criticized quite a bit for being kind of a Bernie Sanders version of critiques of Israel. But here we go.
Of talks at the J Street conference where Bernie came out and declared, conditioning aid. Warren came out. Buttigieg came out and declared support for it for like 2 weeks until he got some pushback, and so that's when he kind of moved off it. So going to Harris.
Warren, no way! Wow.
What I'll say is this: like I said about why it's a litmus test. I think it's impossible to say the actual down to the decimal point what impact Gaza made on her loss. I think there is no question that it played a role, not just among voters for whom that is a priority issue, and to people who criticize
but also she was
the
vice
left
president
for being one issue on Gaza. I'm like, being one issue on a genocide, I think that's a fairly decent thing to be one issue about. The fact that your government is supporting a genocide in front of our eyes. But
if it was Biden in office, would you be saying this right now? Because even Bernie's policies don't seem so like harsh unless Trump is in office, which makes it kind of meaningless to me. Well, it could be taken as meaningless from many people, but also for me, I view it as like kind of not meaningless, but like lackluster. So, yeah. Bernie criticizing something because Trump's doing it is par for the course, to be honest. But here we go.
I think that's a fairly decent thing to be one issue about. The fact that your government is supporting a genocide in front of our eyes. But But it was
Ta-Nehisi
also
said it best. He said,
Biden was.
a party that is unwilling to stop a genocide, what makes you think they are willing to defend democracy?
right. That's exactly right, and that's also kind of what I was getting at.
Ask him if that was the
is
Biden
that
administration too.
Even for people for
Ask
whom
him,
Gaza and the issue of
Hasan.
Palestinian rights is not a real priority, the fact that she couldn't
There's like
give
basic
the
questions
bare
to ask her.
minimum,
He's not doing it.
that she couldn't depart from these pre-baked nonsense talking points about how too many Palestinians have died and we're all so sad to watch this happening day after day after day, as if we weren't, completely complicit in this happening, just signaled that she wasn't for real.
Yeah.
People are looking to be, they want to believe people. And she was not believable on this. And I think that, that signaled that she's
Based
probably
on?
not for real on a whole bunch of other things too.
Yeah. No, it's
Based on why she's not considered for real. Based on what? And if you tie it back to Biden, you can actually tie it back to AOC and Bernie, which is not where Matt Duss is willing to go, and Hasan might be too fucking stupid to think of that. Or does know and he's afraid to harm his guest. I'm just saying. Here we go.
It was a perfect issue to show the problems that was emblematic within the entire Democratic Party's inability to listen to the demands being made by their base, their own base, that they were so willing to throw them aside to say, we're not going to do anything on this. We're just going to stay the course and just feed a bunch of bullshit about how they're trying desperately to get a ceasefire deal done, when in fact everyone who was even like a little bit aware of what was going on would either get mad because they're like, what do you mean we can't get a ceasefire done? We're America, okay? Or or they just thought, okay, well, you're feckless, like you're unable to do this, like you're weak. Or of course they knew the truth,
or you're corrupt.
This is bullshit, which is what I want to ask you about, because I have tweeted a lot of things. I've said a lot of things about Israel and all of the militant resistance against Israel that oftentimes Zionists get very mad about. People that are doing Hasbara, people that are pro-Israel get very mad about. One of those is the notion that this conflict could end, this genocide could end at any given point with one phone call. And I wanted to hear, what your perspective is. You're a foreign policy guy. And if you think that, well, this is, of course, an exaggerated claim. It's not literally one phone call, but it's as close to one phone call as you can get in American politics. And it has ended with one phone call in the past with George H.W. Bush, with the continuation of the settlement projects with Ronald Reagan, with Lebanon, and also with Joe Biden in 2021 with Israel's siege on Gaza in 2021. So what's your assessment on that?
They didn't end there.
Yeah, as you said, not one phone call, not one day, but as Joe Biden did in May 2021, he calls up Netanyahu and says, we're out of runway here. We got to wrap this thing up. He never did that.
If they kept going, then you didn't end anything. Duh? Like, no duh? You didn't actually end, like, I'm sure it looks good in like a newspaper headline, but you didn't actually end anything with one phone call, because like things don't happen in a strict vacuum somewhere. Like, it's continuous. Duh. Syria shit was from what, 2011? And when did Syria fall? 2024. Like, come on. It's a continuation of things that happen throughout, like, over and over as time goes by. And you're watching, like, kind of like the lame ducks fucking, like, pass a baton, essentially, right? I'll claim to be against, or whatever the fuck, right? That's what happens in politics. Like, duh. These fools aren't thinking of their lifetime. They're thinking of, like, future things for the fucking administrations of America, or Israel, or Saudi Arabia, or any country. That's what they're doing. They're going to pass the buck to someone else. Duh. What the fuck? This could end with one phone call. Okay, let's say that's your idea of things. Has anyone tried the one fucking phone call? Can we confirm that what Biden was doing was an actual attempt to stop the phone call? Or sorry, to stop what's happening over there? No, all it is a fucking bragging point for Matt Duss to get on your fucking channel and use that as like, see, they tried, but Trump's not trying at all. So in 2026, please go vote for your local Democrat. That's what I'm smelling from this. Not saying that's the case, but that's what it fucking smells like. Truly.
Sorry, I don't understand his argument. Like,
Matt Duss or
okay,
his son?
the one phone call thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess what I'm confused about is, since it's still going on, if one phone call could end it, and I'm not all that skeptical that it can't. I'm just thinking that it's still going, so nobody's made that call or really wanted to.
I agree. There was no real attempt. And we have evidence from Biden administration advisors going on other news programs and saying, like, well, they didn't really try. Or this person's like, yeah, I quit when I found out what they were up to, and like on and on and so forth. Meaning there was no actual attempts at anything. Granted, that was for October 7th afterwards, right? But before that, like, especially when there's no like blatant genocide happening, are they trying that hard? Are they really? I don't think so, man. I don't think so.
I recall, but Biden I remember him saying not just that he was a supporter of Israel, he says that he's a Zionist. So
Yeah.
I don't know where to go with that.
Well, the Kamala Donald Trump debate, right? Where he's once again,
Yes.
where he's like, "Oh, well, she hates Israel. She hates them. If she was president, she'd let Israel fall in a day." Right? I'm paraphrasing, but like something like that. And her response is not like, "Why are you trying to like corner me with some bullshit? They're doing something harmful. I'm calling them out for that, and I go about my policy that way." She didn't say that, obviously. It's like it's probably something like, "Nobody loves Israel as much as I do." It's like, if that's the standards of conversation here, we're fucked.
Mm-hmm.
Or sorry, Gaza's fucked. And our conscience is fucked by sitting back and seeing this shit happen. It's a fucking in every direction, essentially. But I wish Hasan would have like maybe played that clip, and not his editors, but him showing Matt Duss those clips. That'd be important to me. But of course, this is where we live at. Here we go.
One phone call, not one day, but as
Win
Joe
for
Biden
aliens.
did in May 2021, he calls up Netanyahu and says, "We're out of runway here. We got to wrap this thing up."
Yeah, wrap it up, huh?
He
What
never
happened?
did that.
Oh, okay.
Here. And granted,
Oh, it never happened? All right.
the mood of Israel, the reaction to October 7th, this was a different situation, but still, after
Oh, different
months
situation.
and
Okay.
months and months of this, and knowing for a fact, and let's be clear, they knew for a fact what Israel was doing. They had
Oh, okay.
complete visibility onto Israel's policy, its strategy, its tactics. And this is something I bring up a lot.
Wait, like you did? But you were saying your words weren't saying that, according to at least BadEmpanada. According to that guy, you weren't saying those things when October 7th, like when it first popped off. I mean, it popped off before that, but I'm saying like after October 7th, you were not like, "Yo, I see what these guys are doing. I see what they're doing. I'm gonna call it out." That's not what I was seeing from there. Was BadEmpanada lying? Was he lying to me or his audience? Something tells I doubt that for some reason. Don't ask me why. It's a intuitive thing, but I doubt that quite a bit. So, like, what are you here for? Are you here for rebranding? For people that never heard of Matt Duss before? Is that what you're here for, man? That'd be sad, wouldn't it? It'd be very sad. It'd be destiny sad. My humble opinion. But anyways, here we go.
Because I think it's important to note. I mean, the Biden administration assessed publicly that Russia was committing war crimes in Ukraine within
Russia
a
now.
month
Okay.
of the February 2022 invasion. They could not, by the end of the Biden administration, after whatever it was, 18 months, they still could not come out with an assessment of Israel's, behavior in Gaza. I mean, that's just such bullshit.
Yeah.
We have such like absolute visibility,
Why is that
far greater
bleeped out?
visibility into Gaza, into
Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. Why is that bleeped out on YouTube? Got to make sure Hasan gets paid for this. Because if Hasan gets paid, I get paid. Sorry, I mean, that's nitpicking. Forgive me. But it's also worthy. It's worth noting. I'm just saying. But, okay. And then, okay, Russia, some wild they invaded Ukraine, and, I agree. That's also bad. Also very, very, very bad. And yes, they've killed civilians as well. It's not talked about enough, by the way. But what I assume is happening with the mass populace, mass people, is that they see more of a, I guess, justification from what Russia's doing or what Ukraine's doing, because they're seeing more soldier for soldier deaths rather than, a little girl carrying water, right? Although that is happening over there too. Don't get tricked by that one. Sorry. Putin is not some fucking heavenly figure sent down from fucking God. Zelensky is not some hero sent by God to help save the world. They're not. Sorry. They're men of the times, as good as the world around them is. And guess what? The world fucking sucks. It sucks. Mediocre. But anyways, here we go.
after whatever it was, 18 months, they still could not come out with an assessment of Israel's, behavior in Gaza. I mean, that's just such bullshit. We have such like absolute visibility, far greater visibility into Gaza, into Israel's tactics and what it's doing than we do into what Russia's doing.
It's our weapons.
And the fact that they couldn't make an assessment, which everyone can see on their phones, literally everyone. Palestinians.
Damn, you said my argument. Okay.
USAID itself.
So why were you late, Matt Duss? It's on our phones, but you were late on this. Like, very late, right? But what happened with you? Like, this would be the moment where I'm like, and listen, I was late. I fucked up. I thought it was one thing, but actually the internet showed me differently, which is that's fair enough statement. I hope he says that. I really do. I hope he says that. It's not good enough. It's a start. But, at least he's saying that. Okay. Let's find out. Here we go.
Actually floated, USAID itself floated a report all the way up to Anthony Blinken, and he spiked it on purpose because he wanted to continue unlimited weapons to Israel.
That was not the only report. I mean, I know that
and the international
numerous people inside USAID,
press secretary,
inside state,
was
and others outside the government who were reporting this, sounding the alarm, and they constantly, Blinken and Biden, because Biden had simply decided at the beginning, we're just going to support Israel. This is his long, deeply ideologically held view, that this is how the relationship works.
Okay.
And I do also, my understanding is that they actually thought, because Netanyahu kept telling them that, I'm gonna downshift. We're gonna start to wrap this thing up in the next couple months. And if you believe him once, okay. But they kept on getting screwed by Netanyahu, and I don't absolve them for that, because the idea that Joe Biden, like the greatest foreign policy president of all time, was going to keep getting fooled by this grubby crook Netanyahu, I just don't buy that.
Is that sarcasm? The greatest foreign policy president of all. I assume he's sarcasm. I'm sure that was like a quote, I guess, maybe from the Biden administration. He's kind of like mocking it, I assume. I've not heard that one before, but all right, here we go.
That Joe Biden, like the greatest foreign policy president of all time, was going to keep getting fooled by this grubby crook Netanyahu. I just don't buy that.
Yeah, no, he was on it. He was invested in the continuation of Israel's slaughter. I think.
I mean, do I think
pretty
that
obvious.
Biden just wanted to keep supporting what Israel was doing? I don't. I think when he came out.
So then, well, I. What are we doing then? What the fuck? So Biden didn't like what Netanyahu was doing, but he supported it anyways. Is what Matt Duss is saying. And it's always it's almost like Alex Jones talking, right? Where there's like a built-in defense for the criminal actions of someone, like actually built in. But they make it seem like they're criticizing them at the same time. It's like a bizarre type of way people talk on certain things. Okay. Here we go.
In the continuation
so-
of Israel's slaughter, I think.
I mean, do I think that Biden just wanted to keep supporting what Israel was doing? I don't. I think when he came out and kind of proposed that ceasefire agreement in May of 2024, he really wanted that to happen. But
Based
the
on
fact
what?
is, he was not willing to do what was necessary to actually make it happen, which was to.
So how do you know he meant that? How do you know that? He meant to make that happen, but listen, there was like 50% off on strawberry milkshakes at Rita's, and Biden got really busy. He had to go get one of those milkshakes. He was really busy that day, and things didn't work out. It's like you might as well just say that. It's like, say it that way. He tried really hard, but I had no evidence for him trying really hard, but I'm just going to say he tried really hard because Trump is bad or something. Like, that's the answer. Why do these people seem so fucking transparent? I could be wrong about this. Hey, I'll be fair. I could be wrong. I don't think I am. I could be wrong. It's just extremely transparent of like Alex Jones. Listen, Trump just murdered 50 children in broad daylight on camera in front of everyone. But the deep state was actually aiming at him the whole time, and they made him do it. Like, that's what I'm hearing. Like, why the excusing? What's that? There we go.
Don't.
Fuck,
I think when he came out and kind of
24/7.
proposed that ceasefire agreement in May of 2024, he really wanted that to happen.
Based on nothing.
But the fact is, he was not willing to do what was necessary to actually make it happen, which was to make that phone call, to bring that pressure to say to Netanyahu, we are stopping support for
Trust
this.
me, bro.
We're stopping military support. We're stopping intelligence support. We're going to stop giving you diplomatic cover. You're going to face all these consequences.
Trust the plan.
Unless you do A, B, and C. And Joe Biden was just never willing to do that.
Yeah, which is why I say
that's why he's a good guy.
it to continue happening.
But he is a good guy. He's trying really hard, but he's fucking it up.
The way I look at it, I have a more simplified, maybe too reductive of a attitude on this kind of stuff. Where I just think that like
Hasan.
America's global power is waning, and I think that Israel is a profoundly important regional ally.
Holy fuck. The correct follow-up, Hasan, is that makes Joe Biden either too stupid or part of the problem. That's your correct pushback. But yo, Matt Duss, answer that. Answer that. How did that happen? Is he too stupid or is he part of the problem? Make an assessment for me right now. Please go ahead, Matt Duss. Foreign policy expert. Please tell me about all of it. I see why BadEmpanada was like, okay, this guy, Hasan gave him a pillow interview. It makes a little bit more sense now as I'm seeing it play out.
Why did Hasan just say that they were an important ally? Like, what is like?
I didn't even get to that, Jesse.
What are they doing for us?
We will get there, Jess. Don't spoil, okay? We will get there. I'm just like, yo, how's the first thing out of your fucking mouth not like, yo, so then Biden's trash then, right? He's terrible at this, either incompetent or part of the problem, right? That's your follow-up. That's your actual follow-up. As a question, not as a statement, as a question. So is he full of shit or is he like part of the problem? Like, what's up here? Like, what's going on? Make him answer that because that's a litmus test for Matt Duss. He needs one too. He's not special because he worked for Bernie fucking Sanders. Doesn't make you fucking special. I'm sorry. Anyways, here we go.
Support, we're
I'm
stopping
almost checked
intelligence
out, though.
support,
Not
we're
gonna
going
lie.
to stop giving you diplomatic cover.
Almost checked out.
You're going to face all these consequences unless you do A, B, and C. And Joe Biden was just never willing to do that.
Yeah, which is why I say he wanted it to continue happening, and that's what I mean. I think like the way
Ask
I
a
look at it,
question.
I have a more simplified, maybe too reductive of a attitude on this kind of stuff, where I just think that like America's global power is waning, and I think that Israel is a profoundly important regional ally for American interests. Both because of that, Israel's been able to create this like pervasive network of influence peddling and pressure campaigns that have created this environment, both by way of the media and also by way of like lobbying efforts. It's created this information environment that is utterly at odds with what is going on the ground. And they thought that they could continue this going after October 7. But of course, with social media, it was impossible to maintain a pressure campaign or keep people in the dark. But I think the American foreign policy apparatus was of two minds. You had the State Department people that saw what happened, knew exactly what Israel was going to do, and thought from a position that is pro-American imperialism, not against, not anti-American imperialism. They thought if we let Israel do this, they are going to fuck up the bag. They're going to ruin America's global standing. They're going to harm Israel's own global standing and make it a pariah state, which it has become. And therefore, it's going to make it harder for America to intervene in the events of the region. And then there were, of course, the other side that won, that said, you, no, it won't. It doesn't matter. We're going to go full tilt into this final solution, this one large military incursion, ethnic cleansing, wholesale slaughter, campaign, so that Israel can grab as much land as it possibly can and have a stronger position of dominance in the region. And we all know which side won out. But I think that is, albeit reductive, but like that's, I think, the actual assessment, the top-down actual assessment that took place in that situation.
I might disagree with some of the terminology there, but in general, I don't. I think you're right. I mean, you had people in the White House, particularly Brett McGurk, who was the National Security Council director for the Middle East, who basically took that latter view. He kind of fashions himself as a realist, a hard-nosed realist. He's someone who knows very little about Israel, Palestine, who's very close to the Gulf regimes. He's someone who's very anti-Iran. And he was the one who was essentially, determining the policy within the boundaries that Joe Biden set, which again, the boundaries that Joe Biden set were, we're just going to keep supporting Israel. If we have differences, we'll express those privately. We'll try to kind of encourage them not to kill so many people. But ultimately, you're right.
Yeah. And you said there was a terminology to disagree with. What in particular? Is it imperialism, or is it the utilization of the final solution?
I know that my understanding of this is that there were folks inside the White House who understood that this war was going to be absolutely brutal. I don't know if people in the White House understood how brutal it was going to be. I think, and in retrospect, people should have known, because Israeli leaders were saying this publicly. Anyone who doubts that can just look at the huge dossier that was assembled in the South African case made to the ICJ on genocide. But I'm cautious about saying that no, like the White House knew that this was just going to be an absolute genocide from the get-go. That's not a defense. I think
the reason why I guess like disagree with you on that is because I just don't think that they care, right? Like I don't think that the American government cares when people are dying. They do care when there's pushback. They care when there is a environment of instability within the American public that see this and then like fight back against it, and then they have to like decide, do we actually change our foreign policy, or do we just like create an incredible environment of repression and suppression?
I'd love to see his examples of that. honest to God, can't think of one. Do we have one for that where they like changed their foreign policy based on because okay, you have like Syria, right? Like people got pissed off when uh, Obama announced like, okay, maybe we send troops to Syria, right? Because of the human rights violations, right? And there was an uproar about it, I guess. But then again, I think sorry to sound conspiratorial, but I think the actual more clever idea would be to have rebel groups of foreign fighters to enter Syria and try to take them down that way. That actually made more sense if you're like a creepy little motherfucker. It made more sense, which is what they did, right? They got some local fighters that left Syria to go fight for ISIS and Al Qaeda and other places, and they got straight up like foreigners, like foreigners of Syria, to go in there and cause a ruckus and cause a quote unquote civil war. So, like for me, I'm like, if the bad guy in the movie would do that, right? Wouldn't the Lex Luthor of that world do like, okay, that's the plan. Have these random guys go in there, call it a civil war, then back them because the evil, oppressive government's doing these actions against these courageous rebel fighters, and then like right, and then create this destabilization, right? It makes sense for if you're like a devil worshiper, right? That's what happened. I'm just saying, like, wouldn't you do that? Like, wouldn't you
Yeah.
do that? And can't you
But
see
they're not
that?
really that worried about disruption within the country. Like,
No.
what they'd be more worried about is unification within the country, right? But as
Yeah,
long as they
that'd be
keep
the
people
big
fighting each other,
problem.
they're good. Yeah.
Yeah. If there's like a large swath of people saying like, "Yo, fuck this," you know, war in Syria, but the other half are like, "Hey, where's your birth certificate?" Like, yeah, it works
Yeah.
out pretty well when things like that
Yeah.
happen,
Like,
right?
imagine, like, okay, right now there's genocide.
Mhm.
Just with Biden, there was, well, we just keep funding Ukraine, sending people to their deaths, basically.
Mhm.
And like, and that became a partisan thing, right? Like, half
Yeah.
people support it, half people don't, and they just fight each other. And so what happens? You create an opportunity. Okay, when every challenger has the benefit of saying, "Hey, I wouldn't do that. I'm going to do something different. I'm the opposite guy. I'm going to make things better." And so this guy comes back in office. So I expect this to end, and I expected it to open up somewhere else. Okay, so right now, yeah, there's other things happening now, but I do expect this to end, but it's not because it's like the Ukraine one, because it just moves. They just move the ball, just moves the ball, keep us busy. Like,
I
and
mean,
they don't care about instability within the country if we fight each other. What was the whole Antifa thing? Like, what was that? It was very split.
it was the naming of Americans as terrorists, essentially. And the other side named, oh, these guys are white supremacists. Named them as terrorists.
Mhm.
They both lose, but they're looking at each other instead of like, the people in office naming them or their followers that thing, right?
Yeah. So they do the same
It's
thing. Like,
it's abused
doesn't
children,
matter
Jesse. Let's be
who's
honest.
there.
It is abuse, child abuse, essentially. It's happening in reality. Uh, yeah, it is what it is. And I guess Hasan's neck thing is tied too tight. You can't realize that. Not enough oxygen to the fucking brain. That Matt Duss could be using his platform to fuck with him or abuse it. My power scan popped up. Okay, let's close that real fast. But yeah, it's just weird. Like you just know, it's like just no awareness about it, or once again, he could be a part of it or something. right? But there's the idea of incompetence, where you're just unaware of someone abusing someone right here. But then there's like, okay, you know what's going on, but you're like, I can get more followers from this, or I can make more money off of this, or even strategical, right? Where I know Matt Duss is full of shit, but if I attack him, it'll make the Biden Democrats look better. So thus, I can't attack Matt Duss right now. Which to me, like someone can mean well doing that. It's just like gross for me, at least. My personal position is like, ew, that's fucking gross. But then again, welcome to politics. All right, here we go.
That violates constitutional protections afforded to every single person on U.S. soil, like the Trump administration is doing. And I think Biden also gave that runway as well. But I don't think that they care when people are dying. They care about the backlash more so than the actual. I mean, this is a government after all. That's my assessment.
It's not good enough, but
yeah, like I think that's unfortunately that's fair. Because like I said, I think Joe Biden wanted a ceasefire, but he wasn't willing to do the things that I think were clearly necessary to achieve that ceasefire. So it's fair to ask, did he really want a ceasefire?
Yeah, like he didn't. He
yeah.
at no.
Yeah, let's go over the question. Did he actually want a ceasefire? Let's go through it. And by the way, this interview is from what, days ago? There's plenty of evidence showing no. Not even like no as in like plausible scenario, but no in the sense of there's evidence saying blatantly no. Did Hasan cover that? For sure he covered that, right? Of like Biden officials saying like, yeah, they were never actually trying to do anything. It's bullshit. Like people within the administration, isn't that enough to present to Matt Duss? Maybe Matt Duss has better information or something. Like at least present it to him, right? For sure Hasan heard about that, right? And AOC getting on stage and lying about it. Like, come on, there's shit there for you. Plenty of shit there for you. Fuck it. Without even looking up information, you're intuitive like, well, what if I was a person that like was trying to like get this shit done correctly or whatever the fuck? There's no way you end up in this direction, right? No way, right, AOC? Kamala? Biden? There's no way that's your answer. So like even like someone being a silly person, just looking at it like, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense for like even what the dumbest person might do. So make this make sense, Matt Duss. But yet he's putting like subliminal little pleasantries towards the Biden administration, towards Kamala Harris, obviously towards Bernie Sanders and AOC. And it's like, is that what you're here for, Hasan? Is that what you're here for, bro? To prop up Matt Duss so that he can work for some sort of Democratic candidate in the future, and they slightly move things in a direction, even though like underneath they're not actually like changing things in a direction. Is that your fucking thing? That's not what he like promotes to his audience at all. Promotes himself as like a fucking revolutionary, right? Hasan Piker. I do the things that no one else can do. Right? That's the thing he does, right? That's what he presents himself as. But all right, here we go. Welcome to planet Earth. Here we go.
Point did he ever float any kind of cessation of weapons transfers beyond like the 2,000-pound bombs, which was like,
He just blurted out in the middle of an interview and was not in any sense kind of a planned strategy. So yeah,
and
you're
also
right.
completely went along with like some of the most insane claims that like Israel was making, and that I think had a dramatic shift in the way that the media covered it as well. Like after the Al Ahly hospital courtyard explosion, there were a lot of people who were like, Israel would never blow up a hospital. This must be the work of Palestinian Islamic Jihad or Hamas. And of course, we now look at that and realize how insane it was. But my point was like, even back then, they had already struck the Al Ahly hospital 2 days prior with an artillery shell, right? Like it's not beyond the pale for Israel to blow up a hospital, because if I know that, and I'm some dumb guy who's 34 years old who's like maybe a little bit
me say my answer.
Invested in this stuff, and I've known about what was going on in the region for a while. Like, I just can't in good conscience assume that like brilliant foreign policy minds that are working in the White House that have dedicated their entire lives to this
Are you saying
were
Matt
completely
Duss?
oblivious to what Israel was going to inevitably do.
Are you saying Matt Duss with that? Or are you saying the Biden administration? Like, okay, I guess Hasan's throwing out subs too as well, I guess. Okay, here we go.
No, and the point you're making there, I mean, this is, as bad as materially supporting the war was and is. In my view, just as bad was the propaganda campaign that the Biden administration waged on its behalf. I mean, this was a campaign of lies and disinformation that I think it was as bad as the
Sponsored
lead up to
drink.
the Iraq War. And I use that, and I'm very careful about saying that. But when you look at what we constantly heard from White House spokesman John Kirby, from people at the State Department,
yeah.
oh, we're not seeing evidence of these war crimes. Oh, we haven't finished our assessment. Oh, I mean, it was just such bullshit. And it played like a really just a really corrosive role, and was designed to play a role in suppressing democratic pushback. And it helped lay the groundwork for the continuing denial of this genocide that we're seeing now. And this is again why, as
Now, you were a
as
part of that,
critical
Matt
as I
Duss.
was of the Biden administration and people inside for doing what they did, I am even more critical of them now for staying silent about it.
Yeah.
They're not in government anymore.
Yeah,
You
Kamala
saw the
Harris.
intelligence.
Kamala Harris in this political article we were looking at
There are people
earlier
saying that's-
chose
Right.
not.
But that's how we know some of these things is that Biden people, after they left, obviously Biden left the office, so they left it too. We started hearing things from those guys afterwards. So like, let's go in detail, Matt Duss. It's like he almost talks like he's on the line, like he knows he's on the line or something. It's very interesting. Talks like he's like was in the room with the dead body or something. He kind of like talks that way. Not saying he's guilty of anything. I'm just saying like that's what it sounds like in my ears. But here we go.
Silent about it.
Yeah.
They're not in government anymore.
Yeah,
You saw the
Harris.
intelligence.
Kamala Harris in this political article we were looking at earlier chose not to give an answer, and it's been like 8 months. She's out of office. She's a private citizen. If she considers what's going on to be unconscionable, even from a partisan position, she could be like, the Trump administration is doing something so awful. But no,
It's actually kind of weird when people tell me about lesser evils and they bring up Kamala Harris. It actually is kind of funny. It really is kind of weird. And of course, if you bring up like, well, look what's happening in Gaza, is Kamala going to stop that? Their answer is, what are you, a single issue voter? It's like, wait, the massacring of innocent people, like blatantly in front of your face on your little smartphones. Being against that apparently is a single issue voter. It's like, yo, if I see fucked up shit in any direction, it's getting fucking called out in my world, at least. But these guys are probably thinking strategy, and they're like, okay. She won't go as far as Trump does. Okay, maybe she will on Gaza, but on other stuff, she won't go as far as Trump. Okay, maybe Ukraine too. Okay, maybe Somalia too. But other things, she'll deliver like Meals on Wheels or something, right? And daycare pensions or something. All right, here we go. Granted, like those things are important. They shouldn't be dismissed. It's just like save one kid, blow another one up is not anywhere near good enough for me. Nowhere near it. Thus, it has to be like stood against, I believe. But here we go.
The only voice that we hear from the Biden administration, with the exception of like a couple State Department spokespeople that have been like, yeah, we lied because that's my job, right? I think it was Matt Miller who came out and said something like that. It was crazy.
Yes.
It's been.
Yes, that was one of the interviews. I did a video to that guy. There's more though. He also like tried to like save himself. He's like, "Oh, listen, Like, listen, I was just doing my job. You know, my real beliefs are not allowed when I do like press conferences. I'm supposed to represent the White House. So thus my real beliefs, my real ideas, my real morals are not allowed to be present. So thus when he leaves office, now he tells us he was full of shit when he was on microphone. Now he does that. Brilliant. Welcome to planet Earth. Here we go.
Miller, who came out and said something like that. It was crazy. It's been Anthony Blinken and
Oh, wait,
it's
Matt
been
Duss's face.
Brett
went to his
McGurk,
quite a bit.
who,
I
especially
don't
with
know.
the
I can't
Iran
say.
strikes, he was all over that on CNN, talking about how great Donald Trump is, as a matter of fact. What am I supposed to think? What are Americans supposed to think? That like Democrats are actually against this, or is this a total bipartisan consensus?
In fairness, and I don't want to. No one needs to be fair to Brett McGurk, but he's not even a Democrat. I mean, he's someone who was originally Republican and just stuck around from administration to administration. But yeah, the fact that he is now out there having overseen not just this catastrophe, but previous catastrophes, and is now kind of making bank as a CNN contributor on top of whatever consulting gigs he's lined up. I mean, this is like the embodiment of the corrupt foreign policy establishment. There it is, right in front of us. And until we change this equation and actually find a way to impose.
You supported some of their dumbass fucking policies. What does that make you? Dumbass fucking foreign policy over there. You supported some of them. I made a mistake though. Those guys did it on purpose. But me, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. Okay. All right.
Embodiment of the corrupt foreign policy establishment. There it is, right in front of us. And until we change this equation and actually find a way to impose costs instead of grant rewards to these people, we're going to have a tough time changing it.
Yeah.
Thanks,
So
Matt.
a couple other questions I had for you in particular. What was the turning
I'm
point
almost
for
done,
you, if you
guys.
don't mind me
Don't worry.
asking? This is
Dude.
somewhat of an uncomfortable conversation to have, but what was the turning point for you where you were like, okay, this is a genocide? Because like I could tell you, for
That's a good
me,
question.
from
Very
the jump,
curious.
I was
His
like,
face is
Israel's an
twitching
apartheid
again.
state.
Yeah.
October 7 had numerous atrocities that unfolded during October 7. Israel is a Jewish ethno state. Like the project of Zionism relies, in my assessment, of propping up
They're doing bad
an
things.
in-group
It's
with
all
the
that
sole purpose of
matters.
exterminating all of the out-groups, and that in-group being the ethno-religion of Judaism, and the out-group being Palestinians and Arabs and basically non-Jewish people that the Israeli government, not so ironically, it calls
God.
Arabs, which includes even like Armenians, for example. Like they are under the demographic categorization of the Israeli state. They are considered and classified as
Or Grizzly
Arabs
for Jordan.
if they are Christian or Muslim.
Yeah, I mean, before October 7, I would have agreed certainly that Israel was an apartheid state. I don't agree that the goal of that state was the extermination of the Palestinians. I think the goal of a strong and rising faction in Israel, and it's been in control for a long time, has been the complete kind of destruction of the Palestinians as an independent political force, which is an element of genocide.
Yeah.
Not just the physical destruction of a people in whole or in part, but a destruction of their ability to act as a political community. And I think that has only become, much, much more explicit, along with the physical destruction of tens of thousands of people and their homes since October 7. Now, onto the question of genocide, it seemed clear pretty early on, just from the statements from Israeli government officials, on top of the absolute brutality of the war, that it seemed likely that it was going in that direction. I think a couple things that really kind of pushed me in that direction. There was a piece in the New York Review of Books by Aryeh Nair. If you know him, he was one of the founders of Human Rights Watch, himself a Holocaust survivor. That piece really basically convinced me, because that piece, what that focused on was the denial of aid, the denial of food, the use of food and humanitarian aid as a weapon, which was clearly happening. Now, there's all kinds of other.
Well, there should be questions though, right? That should be good enough. Oh, not good enough, but like a start. Like, hey, people are saying this. Let me ask you a question. Get the fuck out of my office. I will tell him. I will tally mark that down. That I was denied even asking questions about certain things. I wonder if Matt Duss did that. Didn't you?
Because that piece, what that focused on was the denial of aid, the denial of food, the use of food and humanitarian aid as a weapon, which was clearly happening. Now, there's all kinds of other things you can add on top of that, just the massive destruction, the rules of engagement that don't even deserve to be called rules of engagement because they are so permissive. You're fine. They're fine with killing dozens of civilians, men, women, and children. If you're possibly going to get one guy who kind of stood near a Hamas rally 5 years ago, I mean, absolutely absurd. But saying it publicly as far as our organization, we made that decision back, I believe it was May, when the Gaza plan was announced, the plan to reoccupy Gaza and to essentially
This May?
to corral the people into an ever
This May or like a prior May or last May? Yeah. Lost conflict. Of gravity have changed, and Democrats are searching for solid ground across the party. Still in Kuwait, in Choate, 2028 presidential field. Ambitious Democrats like Buttigieg are reevaluating their positions and staking out their territory. Okay. I'm trying to find. I don't see exactly where. Kind of the same article. Yeah, there we go. I don't know.
when the Gaza plan was announced, the plan to reoccupy Gaza and to essentially to corral the people into an ever tightening smaller piece of land. I think it just became undeniable at that point that this was the intention. I have
But
total
that
respect and
was the
understanding for people
case.
who came to that conclusion and said so publicly before that, but just
Expansion of
organizationally,
territory was
that is when we
already a
decided
thing
that
there.
that term was undeniable and appropriate.
Yeah.
Sorry, YouTube
This
audience.
is something that a lot of people that I talk to who are Palestinian or Arab or like very familiar with like a lot of what Israel has done in the region can't contend with. Where like I've had these conversations with they'll be like, why is denial of aid the main thing? Because I think it's because like under, I guess, and this is a Western chauvinist framework for sure, but under like the assessments that Western nation states usually make, they can, no matter how brutal a bombing campaign is, they can try to fit it within the confines of plausible deniability. They can collateralize the civilians that are being deliberately and directly targeted, but denial of aid.
Ask him that.
Denial of entry of any sort of aid.
Hasan, ask him, are there civilians being directly targeted? Ask him that question. That's important. That's an important question. It really is, as far as like two people, right, from different worlds, like trying to assess a scenario. Now, if Matt Duss believes that they're purposely targeting civilians, that is something like there's the word genocide, but then there's like details and then evidence backing it, where it's like, oh fuck, okay. I'm not asking a question. I'm calling it what I'm seeing here. That's why those questions are very much worthy. But I don't think there. But here we go.
The civilians that are being deliberately and directly targeted.
State that, but ask him
denial
what he
of
thinks.
aid.
Fuck.
Denial of entry of any sort of aid to a captive civilian population, I think, is just like there is no justification for it at all, which is precisely the reason why Israel tries to do the stupidest.
Forgive me, YouTube watchers, but that's late. It's not. Well, there was blockades of food, of water, of electricity. Right, that was happening. It was happening in Gaza, 100%, and West Bank in certain cases, but. Asking that and like, hey, is that bad? Like, of course his idea is that it's bad. It's just like Like, where are you at actually, Matt Duss, as a human being? Where the fuck are you at in regards to this? Was it the water? Was it the water being cut off? Was it the food being cut off? Was it an image you saw on fucking Twitter or YouTube or something? Like, what got you here? It's very much important. It's very important. But instead, he's asking like obligatory like style questions. I don't know. Here we go.
But
I'm sorry for pausing.
denial of aid, denial of entry of any sort of aid to a captive civilian population, I think is just like, there is no justification for it at all, which is precisely the reason why
There's
Israel
also
tries to do the
non-justification.
stupidest counter narratives, counter-narrative
Yes.
campaigns on this, saying Hamas is stealing the aid or whatever, when they are known to be utilizing ISIS affiliate groups from local tribes that are drug dealers, like the illiterate Abu Shabab, I think his name is, who is now in charge of the Popular Forces, as they call it. And they are the ones who are actually disruptive and causing chaos at the point of delivery. So it's,
Well, we don't know. I don't know. At least I've heard the news stories and the ideas about it. But like, why not ask it and question for him to see where he's at? And then if he says something where it's like, "Oh, you haven't looked into this? Okay, I have counter information for what you were saying. Why can't you do that?" Fucking rocket science or something.
It's in every aspect of Israel's campaign, I think, and that's precisely the reason why you sometimes see the killing fields accidentally shooting and killing the World Central Kitchen aid workers that are engaging in deconfliction with the Israeli state, and they still get triple tapped on their convoy. So, and that is a byproduct. I think it's a deliberate mechanism of chaos,
blatantly murdered
at every aspect, because the ultimate goal is the complete ethnic displacement of Palestinians, if not expulsion, but like the death and destruction of Palestinian lives, to make it
acting within a permission structure that the United States has helped create and enable over many, many years. Yes.
On that front, I guess like, because I wanted to see like you're a foreign policy guy. This is what you do. I wanted to see like what are some of the disagreements that we might have, and one I think is on the issue of Zionism.
You just said all that, but you didn't ask him a fucking question about it. What? Because said, yeah, okay, Hasan, okay, all right, that's good enough. Come on, man. Make him showcase, like, because this guy could be some sort of advisor for some future fucking presidential candidate. And if he's willing to, like, talk shit now, like, talk about this shit now, because Trump's in office, is not good enough, right? If his fucking mom was the fucking president doing this shit, he should be calling it out. Right, Hasan? It's kind of the idea you're trying to deal with, maybe. Here we go.
Foreign policy guy, this is what you do. I wanted to see like what are some of the disagreements that we might have, and one I think is
chocolate or vanilla donuts.
Zionism in general, because as I said, I see Zionism as an ethno-supremacist ideology that is built around the extermination of the indigenous population that happens to be non-Jewish, like the in-group out-group dynamic, and therefore I see it as inherently fascist. And I feel like this is something that a lot of people refuse to reckon with. And I wonder if you have disagreements with this.
I mean, I would disagree with defining all of Zionism that way. I think the actual material reality, like Zionism as it exists in the world, unfortunately, I think reflects that. And people who are Zionists, I think, need to contend with that. But I think there are other forms of Zionism. I mean, there was a pretty serious debate going in the late 1800s into the early part of the 20th century. People who classified themselves as identified as Zionists, but There were questions over, do we need our own state? Can we form a community within an existing state? There were all kinds of questions about, okay, how do we relate to the indigenous population? Is it a Jewish ethno state? What does self-determination for Jews really require? And so that's how I would tend to define Zionism broadly. It's just the belief that the Jews are a people, and as a people have a right to self-determination. Now, others define, well, a right to self-determination in their historic homeland of Israel in the Middle East, a right to a Jewish ethno-state. People add all kinds of different details on that. But in understanding it in its broadest terms, I understand it as I said. I mean, I know I have really close friends who identify themselves as progressive Zionists, who would share a lot of our criticisms, and who live there and do this work under considerable pressure and trying to create a society that is equal, in which Jews and Palestinians are equal under the law. Some of them support two states, some of them support one state, some of them support one kind of confederal arrangement. But I do think there are people who identify strongly as Zionists, to whom your description of kind of an a violent ethno-eliminationist chauvinism doesn't really apply.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day,
just say to me?
If
What the fuck? Speak English.
The
Weirdo.
impact and the ultimate reality that is unfolding is genocide in Gaza and pogroms in the West Bank, with a deliberate attempt to inevitably implement the greater Israeli state project, which Benjamin Netanyahu has even pontificated on as recently as this past week. Then the way I see it is just like the old understanding of Zionism. And I always go back to Albert Einstein on this, which, he was, I guess, such a Zionist initially that he was slated to be the president of Israel, the first president of Israel. And his attitude on this was that the brigades, the initial, the early Zionist brigades that turned into the Israeli Defense Force after the development of the nation state, when he saw the atrocities that were unfolding, when he caught wind of this, he wrote letters decrying that Irgun, Lihi, and even the Haganah, these militia movements were behaving exactly like the Nazis were. And I feel like someone who has that attitude that early on in the initial formation of the Israeli nation state, which came with the Nakba, an ethnic displacement campaign that was crafted with the deliberate interest of ethnically displacing 750,000 Palestinians from their villages, implies that, especially when you factor in Theodore Herzl or even Jabotinsky's assessments or David Ben-Gurion's statements about the indigenous population and what must be done with them, it comes across as though it's been marketing. It's been marketed as something different. And I think that social conditioning has played a major role in this, especially in the West, for American Jews as well as, of course, the evangelical Zionists, the evangelical Christian Zionists. But ultimately, if it walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, then it's probably not a chicken. We might be looking at a duck.
No, I mean, everything.
And also that Einstein supported the nuclear fucking bomb. I'll throw that out there. I'm gonna boost him up. But anyways, here we go.
Is probably not a chicken. We might be looking at a duck.
A smart, dumb person.
I mean, everything you said there is fair. I would also add,
According to Jordan,
someone who might identify as a communist can defy communism in very basic terms, but if they're being honest about their ideology, they do need to contend with the reality of governments that identified as communists, like the Soviets, like the Chinese Communist Party, and some of the things that were carried out in communism's name. That doesn't mean that defines communism for all time. But if they're going to be honest about what their ideology means, they do have to grapple with actually existing communism. You can find other examples too.
So again, I agree with you. I think that it's very important to learn from the past mistakes of attempts towards developing communism, like the transitional socialist states, whether it be like USSR or existing transitional socialist states like the current formation in China. There are always going to be issues. There's always going to be mistakes. and some of them are going to be incredibly costly. Widespread famine is obviously a great example of this in terms of some of the major issues that existed. And I think people need to contend with that, certainly. But I just think ideologically, when we go back to like first principles, like the fundamentals of an ideology, not only just like the opinions of its initial movement leaders, but also in its implementation, I guess what I'm trying to say is not an accident that we have arrived at the current genocide that's going on, which many people are now recognizing as a genocide. It was an inevitability. And I would go so far as to say that we're experiencing something of the sort in America as well. This is something that I saw in Israel in I think it was a 2018 Supreme Court protests that were taking place, where you had liberal Zionists and progressive Zionists that were out in the streets and protesting against the Israeli state. And the Israeli state was using some of the mechanisms of enforcement that they routinely apply to the Palestinians on their own, their own Jewish citizens. And one thing that I saw in those protests was everyone was waving the Israeli flag, and one thing that they never wanted to contend with was the existing apartheid mechanisms, the violence of that enforcement, the notion that the IDF is actually a secular force for good. They could not contend with how this country was becoming even more right wing, and
it's not right wing, you dummy. They're just full of shit. And I can use Americans as a similar example. To where, like George W. Bush, right? And you have 9/11 happen, then you have the Iraq War, then eventually, even though initially, like overwhelmingly, Americans were in favor of it, but after a while, they started turning on the administration. Now, what did they do after that? They said Barack Obama will come in and save us. It wasn't America doing horrible shit, like the American government doing horrible shit. It was George W. Bush and Dick Cheney doing horrible shit. So thus we'll replace them with someone else, and those guys come in and do horrible shit. And they're like, damn, Barack Obama's trash too. Let's bring in a real guy who's really going to do something about this. They bring Trump in, and he does horrible shit. Wouldn't it be apt or important to try your best, not Norman Finkelstein of shunning, but like, hey guys, we see something like borderline similar, but we can't. Who knows if they're the same people or not? But like, I think it's worth bringing up. Like, damn, what if Netanyahu is doing this crazy thing in one direction? Okay, you replace him. Some guy comes in and goes the quote unquote other direction, although he doesn't. And then you're like, yo, fuck this guy too. And then you forget about Netanyahu and you bring someone else in like Netanyahu. Isn't that it's, once again, it's kindergarten level of like observing things, but why wouldn't you do instead just hyper focus on, the right wing, the right wing, like focus on that, and then the same problems keep popping up anyways. It'd be important, like, hey guys, don't fall for the shit I got fucked up with. Please. I beg you, please don't. Then again, I'm sure I'm speaking. Here we go.
We have something similar here in America as well.
We
leave a lot of these contradictions unaddressed, whether it be white supremacy, whether it be America's settler colonial history and this nation's founding. And I think if left unaddressed, it is inevitable that we will have a leader like Donald Trump. And if left unaddressed, it is inevitable that Israel will have Benjamin Netanyahu as the leadership again, and his coalition will become increasingly more reactionary and
But couldn't you say that for Barack Obama? Like, inevitably, because we get so easily tricked, a Barack Obama will pop up, some guy pretending to be our hero, but actually fucking us behind our backs. I'm sure Hasan will say, well, he's not as bad as Trump, though. It's like, is that good enough? Is that actually good enough? Can't say I know. Here we go.
increasingly more violent. That's just the way I see it, and I think that's an extension of the ideology of Zionism, and
Oh, it's
it can
Zionism.
masquerade
Okay,
as like
yeah.
trying to find a homeland for people that have withstood tremendous amounts of oppression, historic pogroms, the Holocaust, unimaginable pain for thousands of years. But in the way that it has unfolded, it is has
Yeah,
been an
just like
incredibly
everyone
violent
else.
endeavor to the indigenous population that didn't do anything to these people that came in as a part of initially a British settler colonial operation.
Yeah, I hear that. I mean, I guess we'll just, I look at the history of the state of Israel, even before the founding of the state, some decisions that were made by the various waves of Zionist immigration and decisions that were made by, you know, foreign powers like the United States and others. And I think I can identify possibly some pivot points where things might have developed in another way. So I don't know if I'm going to agree
Okay.
totally that this was all pre-baked and
Why not say them? Why not say it? Anyways.
predetermined from the beginning. But clearly, there has been a tendency, a kind of variation of Zionism that has taken control and been in control for some decades now, that is clearly violent, that is clearly exclusivist,
The fuck?
and is clearly eliminationist, as we're seeing in front of us. And again, I do think the
Eliminationist?
U.S.
The fuck does that mean?
bear some responsibility here, because the United States, more than any other
Some?
country, has been the one that has kind of shielded Israel from any real consequences from decades and decades
I agree.
of these
But like,
abuses. And I don't know if irony is the right word, but no country has done more to help really diminish and strangle the Israeli peace movement and the possibility of the emergence of a more pluralistic and equal, vision of the Zionist state of Israel than the United States, by shielding it from those consequences. And people like Joe Biden, whom says, there should be no daylight between the U.S. and Israel. That kind of approach has been wind at the back of the settler movement. That has been wind at the back of the extremists who are now, perpetrating this genocide.
Yeah. Okay. Let's switch gears a little bit and let's talk about.
Stop it there. Like, that's not I don't think Hasan's actual assessment of things. Right. If I had to guess what Hasan's assessment is that the actually like overwhelming majority of Israelis all believe this direction, which could be the case. Fair enough. Although I've seen evidence of the other side of that. But Hasan might believe that, and thus you can present that to Matt Duss, but wasn't. But also, like, I'll be honest, I'm just like, okay, where are we going? I expect the same thing to happen later on. I could be absolutely wrong. And I can consider possibilities. And guess what? In the comment section, if someone tells me, like, okay, there's something else happening in this discussion that's worth looking at, I will definitely go back to it. But I'm seeing like a little bit of a trend, and it is what it is. So I'm stopping here. This was your part 2. I think I ranted enough, I guess. But yeah, please let me know if I missed something. Yeah, all right. There's your video. Please subscribe if you feel like. Comment, agree, disagree about anything. I watched the BadEmpanada video, and now I watched this, and I'm not surprised why that guy was saying this about this interview, because there was room all over the place to actually ask questions to get like an actual litmus test of this guy, of Matt Duss, a guy who's actually connected and has like foreign policy entanglements with policy entanglements with like Bernie Sanders, and then thus Bernie Sanders is connected to AOC, who's connected to Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib and other people, right? So there are some worthy questions here that I have not heard Hasan really ask, although he didn't do as, I mean, he did bad by my standards, but BadEmpanada wants more from this guy. And I think, yeah, why not ask that? That's fair enough to me. But anyways, either way, tell me in the comment sections like where you're at, please. Do not forget to share, support, hopefully donate to all the links you see in the description box. Check them out, read them, share them, then donate. All of it is very much appreciated. Also, check out the Discord link if you want to join up and talk shit with people. Please do so. And with all that said, give this video a thumbs down. 2 hours and 40 minutes? Fuck.